Yes, I will call roll call now. Rebecca Betancourt. Rick Smiles. Madison Hull. Mike Hill.
Present.
Gretchen Newsom.
Present.
Chris Dombrowski, sorry.
Present.
Ernesto Morales. And Douglas Tracy. Chair Betancourt, there are 6 members present. There is a quorum. Also present is Peter Cooper, Acting Director, Jaime Gutierrez, Chief Deputy Director, and Michael Cable, Staff Attorney.
Are we at the time where I can motion to approve the agenda?
We are just about to
Okay.
go there.
I'd like to move a motion to approve the agenda and hear and consider the apprenticeship proposals by industry and trade together as listed and grouped on the agenda and table of contents.
Second.
Hear them.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Would you like for me to do the housekeeping? Would you like for me to do housekeeping? Okay. If you're here in the auditorium, please do not live stream via mobile device or connect to the Zoom platform in order to avoid a persistent disruption in the proceedings. If you're presenting before the panel and are attending in person or online, please speak clearly into your microphone, state your name, title, the company you are representing. And for public comments, we ask that you do the same. If you're virtually with us, please use the raised hand feature and wait for your name to be called, at which time you will be unmuted. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I now am looking for the approval of the August panel meeting minutes. Does any member wish to make any corrections to the August panel meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
So I hear a motion to approve the August panel meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. We are now moving over to Peter, I believe, for the executive report.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So good morning, panel members, stakeholders, and staff. So Eric Cheniers has taken a new position at CalHR, and so we're waiting for the appointment of a new executive director. In the meantime, Secretary Knox has appointed me as the acting director. Today, we have a very large agenda, as you know, comprised mostly of apprenticeship proposals. The total funding for today is $27.1 million to support 26,568 trainees in 77 proposals. Before we get to the apprenticeship proposals, Mike Cable, our staff attorney, will provide an update on legislation and the changes to the Bagley-Keene Open Meetings Act. Also, we're happy to have Eric Rude with us, who's the chief of the Division of Apprenticeship Standards. He will provide an update on the work that's being done to increase and diversify registered apprenticeship in the state. Willie Atkinson and Heather Miguel from our staff will give an update on ETP's apprenticeship program before we get into the individual proposals as well. I want to thank Willie and Heather for all their work they put into getting the apprenticeship programs to the panel. Also want to thank the apprentices for telling us about the impact of apprenticeship on their lives. And also to the JATCs present today for coming here and working with us to support the valuable training that they do for workers across the state. I'm also happy to report that we will have the last Healthcare Workforce Advancement Fund proposal coming to you today. This includes, so we'll have 4 healthcare proposals today for $2.2 million. This is part of a much larger initiative by the administration that's called the Workforce for a Healthy California, which is led by Labor Agency and the Health and Human Services Agency. It's a 3-year, $1 billion plus investment to support recruitment, training, hire, retention, and career advancement in this critical sector of our economy. The final literacy proposal will come to you in October. Now, with that, I'd like to hand it over to Tara for her report.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, panel. Tara Armstrong with our information technology update. I do have a slide if you want to refer to that too. So under our CaliForce Cali program, I wanted to announce, and we have sent stakeholder messages, that we are collecting the occupation at final invoice now. So this will now close out the occupational data. So eventually we'll be able to see how the occupations evolve through the projects. Under the application enhancements, we've added the multiple training subcontractors. So the ability, if you're using more than one training subcontractor, you can add more of those. And we've added 2 additional questions. We've realized that some of the applications were missing information that needed to be on the panel proposals. So we've added those to the application that they don't have to be found throughout development. So that includes the out-of-state questions and health benefits. We've also added the curriculum section on the application. So now that you can correlate the occupations in which training types that they're going to be related to. In addition, there is a collection of the percent of training types, for example, business skills and computer skills, what percent that they will be included on each proposal. And I think that is the end. Under Cal-E grants, we are working with the California Workforce Development Board. And to come, we're going to be adding stakeholder recommendations as always. To come next month will be the sorting features for external reports. And if there's not any questions, I'll pass it over to Cable.
Hearing none. Good morning, panel members. Mike Cable, your staff attorney. Got just a few things to report for the legal unit from the legal unit today. First, you may recall from previous action and previous reports that the legal unit updated ETP's conflict of interest code. At this time, I'm happy to report that all the public comment periods have expired, and we're now waiting for FPPC's final approval, which will be a letter to ETP indicating as such, and then also sending it to the Secretary of State for final endorsement. As soon as we get that, then we'll be able to roll it out and put it on SharePoint and do it internally. I just want to take a moment to thank both Melissa Roper and our HR unit for their hard work and dedication in making sure that this happens. We were actually behind and somewhat out of compliance, and we will now be in compliance. So thank you all for helping us out. Next, I want to provide a quick legislative report. Couple things. The legislative year is coming to a close. October 14th will be the last day for the governor to sign or veto any bills that have passed through the legislature. In your panel packet, you have a copy of our pending legislation memo that outlines the bills that we've been tracking for you. A couple of things I want to point out. One is AB 1766, which is on page 3, which has been reported at previous panel meetings. This is the bill that contains some technical changes to our legislation. It was already approved and signed by the governor, and those changes will take place in the coming year. Next, there is SB 544, which is on page 5. And this is the bill that was going to amend the Bagley-Keene Act, allowing for more flexibility to have teleconference meetings. As you know, we had the ability to do teleconference meeting, but there was a lot of onerous requirements such as locations, public access, notice, et cetera. During the pandemic, we had emergency orders that allow us to do fully teleconference meetings without having to have those specific requirements. There were Band-Aids that were put on over time. This was the bill that would go ahead and make the changes permanent within Bagley-Keene, the code itself. This was signed by the governor. There were some recent amendments to it. We're looking at those amendments right now. We're assessing the situation and we'll be reporting back. I guess for now, I just want to let you know that SB 544 was approved by the governor, that it will become effective in the coming year, and that I anticipate more substantive reports on those changes at our next panel meeting. So you'll have the ability to consider teleconference meeting in the coming year and what that would look like. Lastly, which is kind of typical this time of year, agency has reached out to ETP and has asked us for any of our proposals for legislation in the coming year. We just got that request. The legal unit has had a preliminary meeting with executive staff. We're looking at a couple of different issues, primarily some technical issues and things, antiquated language and the like that needs to be changed. We're doing those discussions right now. I anticipate a lot of those discussions taking place in the next week or two. And of course, we'll keep the panel updated as we work through that like we have before. That's all I have for today. I know we have a long meeting, so I'm just trying to keep it short, but I'm available, and thank you for your time, and I'm available if you have any questions. I will move it on to.
Thank you. Good morning, panel members and stakeholders. Nice to see you all once again, and thank you for the opportunity to quickly present some summary information on the employment training panel's funding. Before I do that, one additional note. As previously mentioned in the August panel, the expansion and CCC funds will expire at the end of this fiscal year, so in June of 2024. In order to assist ETP staff in managing the workload and meeting the requirements of the funds, we are asking, we are asking that any extension requests for expansion and CCC funds be submitted as soon as possible and no later than October 15th of 2023. Moving on to the funding. As Director Cooper stated, Acting Director Cooper stated, today's panel meeting is for approximately $27.1 million. That includes 3 approved delegation orders for a total of $158,677. As most know, delegation orders are proposals capped at $75,000 and approved under the delegated authority by the director on a continuous flow basis. For the state fiscal year, for this state fiscal year, ETP has approved a total of 11 delegation orders. If all of the proposals scheduled for this panel meeting are funded today, the panel will be providing 77 proposals. These projects include, as Acting Director Cooper stated, 4 healthcare workforce advancement fund projects for $2.2 million. Regarding the demand, we have 124 applications in demand. 104 applications are currently with the regional offices in development. 17 applications are under review by the application and assessment unit, and 3 are submitted applications pending review. The estimated value of the 124 applications is $27.7 million and breaks down as follows. $21.8 million in demand for single employer contracts, $172,522 in demand for small business, $4.1 million in demand for multiple employer contracts, $1.6 million in demand for apprenticeships, and 0 demand for critical proposals. Regarding our allocations, we are currently within our total allocations for state fiscal year 23-24, and if all goes well today, we will have approximately $50 million remaining in our funds for this fiscal year. That is the final portion of my report, and I do have one action item related to the consent calendar. I would like to request that the panel members identify which proposal, if any, they would like to pull from today's consent calendar, and then for a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception and identity of those proposals being pulled, which will be heard individually and in order.
Thank you. So I do from there, is there a motion? Is there anyone who would like to pull anything from consent?
Motion to approve the
Hang on.
consent. calendar.
I have
Oh,
one I want
never
to.
mind.
Yeah, I do. I
Sorry.
have, I want to tab 4 Santa Clarita Community College. That's the one that I want to pull from consent. Okay, so is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the consent calendar minus tab 4, the Santa Clarita Community College District.
Second.
Okay, so I hear a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed who say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. I think we're moving on to apprenticeship presentations, correct?
Good morning. Can you hear me? Hear me now? Good. Okay. Good morning, panel members. My name, for those of you who don't know me, is Heather Miguel. I am the manager of the Program Projects Unit here with ETP. Our team helps to facilitate the apprenticeship funding as it runs through the approval cycle. So my manager, Willie Atkinson, and I are here to talk with you about some brief updates around the program this year, as well as give you some highlights on moving forward, some things that we're trying to do. The other thing I want to mention is we are very lucky to have 3 apprentices here to speak to you today. I know last year those stories were really moving, so we're really happy to have those folks here. I will present them later on in the presentation after Willie and I give you some updates. We do have a PowerPoint. Can we put that up, colleagues?
Oh, excuse me, sorry. Nix the PowerPoint. We're asking Eric Rude from the Division of Apprenticeship Standards. Chief Eric Rude is also here today to present. So we're very grateful to have him. So we would like him to come up and offer some updates from his agency as well. So please welcome Eric.
Get my glasses on so I can see. My goodness. Madam Chair Betancourt, panel members, Acting Director Cooper, thank you for having me here today. Lots going on in the world of registered apprenticeship. And first and foremost, I think this will be my last official employment training panel meeting as the Chief of the Division of Apprenticeship Standards. We've made some amazing strides over the last 6 years with me in this role, and I look forward to seeing DAS really move into the 21st century with the quality registered apprenticeship programs that we do have and what have you. The Department of Industrial Relations and the Division of Apprenticeship Standards are leading a historic effort to meet the governor's ambitious goal of creating 500,000 registered apprenticeships over the next decade. And I guess this decade's moving pretty quickly, right? So the next 6 years or so. Last year, DAS launched a 5-point action plan aimed at achieving this goal. 1, by supporting regional and sector apprenticeship programs. 2, expanding new and innovative apprenticeship programs. 3, increasing access to traditional apprenticeship programs in fields like construction, firefighting, and emergency medical services. 4, promoting youth apprenticeships for both in-school and out-of-school youth. And finally, expanding state and local public sector apprenticeship programs. Since fiscal year 22-23, the Department of Industrial Relations and the Division of Apprenticeship Standards has seen unprecedented funding to realize the governor's vision of serving 500,000 apprentices. The Division of Apprenticeship Standards has received funding to help support apprenticeship programs in the non-traditional sector through the Apprenticeship Innovation Fund to help offset costs to run as an apprenticeship program sponsor. We had over 200 apprenticeship program startups in the non-traditional side that a lot of it was funded through the California Apprenticeship Initiative, through the Chancellor's Office of the California Community Colleges, which has invested well over $100 million. When we were looking at the programs, there was only about 12 to 15 active apprentices anytime within those 215 registered apprenticeships and what have you. So we started looking at how we could better scale up these type of programs. And so one of the options that we were looking at was through the Apprenticeship Innovation Fund, which is a pivotal initiative aimed at advancing and fortifying apprenticeship programs in our state. In fiscal 22-23, AIF provided an estimated funding of $55 million, and we received an additional $40 million this year. So we currently have $95 million of funding that would offset costs of running registered apprenticeship programs in, again, the non-traditional industry sectors. The primary objective is to support and promote these programs to adhere to specific guidelines and criteria. The funding is particularly intended to assist these non-legacy apprenticeship programs in scaling up their operations and mitigating the costs associated in becoming an apprenticeship program sponsor. Eligibility for the Apprenticeship Innovation Fund requires that all wages be paid to apprentices meet and exceed the employment training panel's minimum wage rates. Many apprenticeship programs already pay wages well above the minimum rates, ensuring fair compensation for all program participants. Majority of our apprenticeship programs in the non-traditional, more than 50% actually have a joint labor management component. So there's not only wages, but there's also benefits that are associated with it as well. The DAS will participate also with the employment training panels, stakeholder working group to review how apprenticeship programs are funded. 2 key components of the Apprenticeship Innovation Fund. One is support. So this component provides a $3,500 per apprentice per year and includes an $1,000 per apprentice completion bonus. It covers a range of program costs, which includes employer engagement, recruitment, support services, payroll, what have you. The second component is apprenticeship innovation training. This training offers funding at the rate comparable to the related and supplemental instruction dollars that is funded by the Chancellor's Office of the California Community College. And last year, that rate was $8.82 per hour, per training hour. This year, as of July 1st, there was a cost of living adjustment, which increased that fund to $9.98. Programs that are seeking AIF training funds should be aware that they're not eligible for a Proposition 98 RSI funding. And additionally, programs must certify their compliance with all state and federal laws before receiving this funding as well. In the world of construction, we released the Equal Representation in Construction Apprenticeship Grants to try to get more women into construction careers. So we released in March $25 million, which was set to offset costs for childcare primarily. 2/3 of that $25 million went to pre-apprenticeship programs and apprenticeship programs that were serving parents that were having difficulty finding that care. And then the other third was really looking at how we could do building, community building and outreach to get more women into these construction careers. DIR currently is receiving a annual line item of $15 million for women in construction. And so as of date, we've received $45 million as a department, which with 25 million of that going to that grant. So the ERICA grant provides financial services up to $5,000 allocated per eligible apprentice or pre-apprentice, and $10,000 per eligible apprentice. So pretty significant to get them through various registered pre-apprenticeship programs. We have obviously the multi-craft curriculum core is a huge mechanism to get more women into the trades and what have you. Let's see, outreach and community building. That's the second part of the ERICA grant. We gave a proposal, we provided up to $2 million per grantee on this area. Groups like Tradeswomen Inc. And women in non-employment traditional roles. Did I do that right, Winter? I think my dyslexia came up on that. So, but Winter and other nonprofits that are in this space received this funding, and we're really excited to. I put a mandate out to our California Apprenticeship Council's Equal Employment Opportunity Committee to double the number of women in registered apprenticeships over the next 2 years. And our Commissioner Sherry Learmonth, who's a mechanical employer in the Bay Area, is my chair. And we're looking quarter by quarter at these numbers to see if we're really moving the needle. So real excited that we're hoping this funding will have a huge impact as we move forward. Then finally, youth apprenticeship. DA has received $20 million a year over the next 3 years to address apprenticeship, pre-apprenticeship for at-risk and foster youth and those experiencing housing issues, as well as figuring out how we can create better youth apprenticeships in our high schools. So we're looking at putting out a request for solicitation here by the end of the year for that. So we've also developed on our webpage at www.dir.ca.gov, hit the apprenticeship tab. We have a funding page. And so this funding page also will tie in with all the great work that you all do here with the Employment Training Panel, but all the funding sources for our apprenticeship programs. And this is a real key area of how we're trying to map out, not just within the world of Department of Industrial Relations, but also through Labor and Workforce Development Agency and all of our sister workforce entities, so that we're not working in silos, and that we're really looking at how we can really push the needle as we move forward. So in summary, this historic funding opportunity presents a significant opportunity for financial support to enhance apprenticeship programs with a particular emphasis on compliance, diversity, childcare support and outreach efforts. It's a valuable resource for organizations and programs looking to contribute to the growth and success of apprenticeships in our states. So with that, any questions? The members.
Chief Rude, if you don't mind, you mentioned that you were tracking the progress being made to admit more women into apprenticeship programs that are traditionally occupied by males, this construction industry specifically. What progress are you seeing so far?
So right now we're pushing around 3 to 4% participation with women in our construction careers there. When I started, we had about 684 registered women in apprenticeship. Today, we're just under 4,000, which still is just a drop in the bucket. So what we're really trying to do is putting our baseline numbers together. We're looking at how do we now, my goal now is to get 8,000 women into
Within 2
these,
years.
within 2 years. And so this Erica grant's kind of coming in at a good time to see whether or not funding for childcare is something that is a prohibitive for getting more women into the trade. So with that, we also created the Women in Construction Committee, and we have probably the greatest committee ever put together, I think, in this world. I have 6 powerful women employers that sit on this committee. And then we have a lot of, we have representation also from Tradeswomen Inc. and other important voices as well, stakeholders. But the Mary Teigerts of the world sit on that board. We also have electrical contractors in San Diego that sit on that board. So we have good geographical representation as well. And we're hoping.
So is it that committee that's having the conversations that with the apprenticeship programs that are receiving the Erica grants as the best practice for how to communicate the opportunity to get this grant to their female members or just parents in general in the apprenticeship program? Like, what does that image look like and how is that being presented to the apprentices?
Yeah, so this committee actually, we put together and had our first meeting in June. So the Erica grants had already been released in March. However, we have a permanent line item of $15 million that go into this Women in Construction, which this committee will have a huge voice in helping us shape. In addition, we have a little cross-pollination with Sherry Lermont, who's also one of our commissioners on the California Apprenticeship Council that serves on this committee as well. She's also leading the charge to double the number of women in apprenticeship as well. We're looking at, there's new leadership with Tradeswomen Inc. So we're working closely with them. We will have our next meeting for Women in Construction will take place in November, so keep your eyes out for that. We would love the folks in this room to be able to attend these meetings and have a voice. But as far as we'll have report outs, we're expecting the first series of reports coming from our Erica grantees to give a better idea of how many participants are being served, as well as what efforts in both in the community building, creating mentors for women, for instance, all women cohorts. There's a few, Valley Build in the Fresno area is doing some amazing work under their leadership with their workforce board. So this is a great opportunity, actually. So keep your eyes out. I believe we're going to set it up for the first or second week of November. So
thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think you were off the hook fairly lightly there, Eric.
Oh my goodness, what?
From this group, yeah.
Thank you for all that you all do. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, as I said again, a big thank you to Chief Rude. His team has been really incredible partnering with us over here at ETB. We are very grateful to him, and we will miss seeing him around. But thanks again, Eric. We really appreciate it. All righty, if I could have the slide, please. Slides. Awesome. Perfect. So again, Heather Miguel, Program Projects Unit Manager. And I want to talk about some of the changes and sort of what's coming next for our apprenticeship program. So if you look at the slide here, since the inception, the ETP Apprentice program with ETP has funded a pathway for apprentice programs statewide to receive training dollars. This is aligned with our mission to retain high-wage jobs and provide workers opportunities to train in career development. These apprentice programs offer significant classroom and hands-on training, leading to high-skill, high-wage jobs across the state. We could go to the previous slide, please. Last year, we implemented an application window for these programs. I think you've all heard about this many times. We have found this to be successful. That's why the meeting is so packed today, because we are hearing all of our apprentice programs during our meeting today. And we've actually found this from a program standpoint to be very successful and plan to do this in years to come. This works well with the schedule of the apprentice programs in our experience. As they begin ramping up training in the fall months, we can align the September panel in order to fund those programs. Today, you will see 62 apprenticeship programs, and this year we have allocated a total of $21.5 million to the apprentice program. And I will hand the next slide off to Willie.
Thank you, Heather. My name is Willie Atkinson. I am the Assessment and Program Division Manager. And what I will be speaking on with you today is just giving you some status updates of where the program is and where we're going. But first, I'd like to just take the opportunity to thank the Chancellor's Office, DAS, ETP staff members for their work on the proposals that you see today. Joseph Eisenreich, who helped us with all the apprenticeship data and trying to figure out how do we create a formula in order to fund the program. Marcela Loza for her work on trying to figure out the fiscal portion of this. And most importantly, Heather Miguel, the manager of PPU, for her dedication and commitment in the daily managing of the apprenticeship program for us. With that being said, in the past year, between the time that we've had the application window last year and the application window this year, we've met with the Community College Chancellor's Office and discussing how RSI is calculated, dispersed, and their CAI, their California Apprenticeship Initiative grant money. And we met with them in order to better understand the work that they do and how it relates to us. And maybe there are ways that we can think of borrowing processes in order to fund these programs. We also met with DAS several times during the year. During those meetings, we discussed completion rates, how they register new apprentices, their AIF funding, their ERICA funding, trying to get an understanding of the structure of programs. We also met with them to discuss their expansion efforts on apprenticeships. In the meetings between the two, each agency agreed to work towards a method of tracking and coordinating who is receiving funding, including on an apprenticeship level from any of the three agencies, so that monies are maximized and serving the greatest number of apprentices possible. We met with stakeholders, which included training and program directors, to get feedback and discuss challenges and what they might like to see from ETP as a partner. We did presentations to the Interagency Advisory Committee on Apprenticeships and the California Apprenticeship Council around ETP funding and given program status updates. We also attend quarterly meetings. Going into the next year, we also want to start to engage and give support for innovative apprenticeship programs in the emerging non-traditional industries. We have received invites from ACA subcommittee meetings to come and speak to ETP about the funding opportunities. During the coming year, you will see, or we will increase our efforts to reach this population with a goal to have them apply for funding during next year's apprenticeship application window. What we also have done is we're creating an apprenticeship work group to determine a method of funding apprenticeship programs, which will be facilitated by Civic Makers, the same group who facilitated our First In, First Out. And the plan is to come up with some type of method going into funding of next year next fiscal year's program. The work group will address areas that pose challenges in the apprenticeship program, which you will see in some of today's proposals, which include a performance threshold on active contracts, the representation of performance in the proposals, also the projected number of trainees, the trainee population, including possibly looking at apprentice by year. We also will hopefully look at who holds the contract. Is it a program sponsor? Is it a trust? Is it an umbrella entity? And then we're also going to discuss administrative changes, not necessarily on the ETP side, but more how can we make administrative changes on the external side so that way we make record keeping much more smoother in looking at those different aspects that might impact on how we show performance. The next thing is that we're going to be looking at diversity, equity, and inclusion. In the past year, our presentations to the CAC and IACA included DEI talking points with the purpose of informing the apprenticeship community of upcoming changes to the application proposal, which would focus more on substantive narration of their program. The goal going into next year will be include this into the application and proposal. Now I'll hand it back to Heather.
Me again, get used to it. Okay, next slide, please. So I just wanted to provide some updates to you all kind of around how the funding was organized this year, as well as what you can expect at the meeting today. So first and foremost, the first bullet point we have is funding based on demand. So over the last couple of years, we've worked to determine the best way to fund these programs in a way that distributes the funding in a fair way. As Willie said, we will be creating the apprenticeship work group to help us address this. However, in April, I brought to panel a methodology to fund apprentice contracts for this fiscal year on a cost per trainee basis. A lot of work went into creating an equitable formula to fund the programs in this manner. However, when we looked at the overall demand of funding, once all of the applications were submitted, we realized that we could fund all of these programs at their requested funding amount, at their requested dollar amount submitted in the applications without exceeding our allocated budget for the program this year. In an effort not to overcomplicate the funding, we ultimately proceeded to fund the applications at their requested dollar amount, taking the project caps into consideration. So we would cap those over, requesting more than the cap that we had allowed for this fiscal year. The next bullet I would like to speak to that you will see in the proposals today are total trainees. So because the original intent this year was to fund on a cost per basis, we have found that the proposals this year are typically requesting to fund more trainees in their proposals than they may have requested last year. While our intent in this regard was different, we've actually think that this will be a good thing because it will more accurately reflect the total number of apprentices in any given program and allow us to look more holistically at the data statewide to see how many apprentices we are actually serving in our programs. The next piece I want to touch on is the revised order of the projects. So as we all know, today the agenda looks a little different than it has in years past as it relates to the apprentice program. In the past, we presented these projects based upon the regional office in which it was developed. Lucky for you all, I will be presenting all of the projects to you today. So if my voice bothers you, buckle up. This year, we organized the projects, as you know, based on industry. This will allow us to hear projects that are similar in nature together. I also want to highlight here that these are small changes, but every year we've worked to implement small changes that we hope ultimately will benefit both our staff and our the programs that we fund and the stakeholders that we work with. And then finally, completion rates and proposal. I want to preface this, and Gretchen, you mentioned this when we spoke earlier. These are more growth rates. So the sort of heading on the proposals is a little bit of, it's a little bit misleading, but I know these were questions that were requested by panel members to be included in the proposal, of which we were able to include. I do want to point out, though, that for now, much of this is self-reported, which is not a bad thing. But I think that if this is something that the panel chooses to include in these proposals moving forward, I would really like us to work together to really come around metrics that make sense so that we can advise our applicants on the best way to provide us this information. Nonetheless, I think it's really good information, and I'm glad that we are including it in the proposals today. So I'm going to introduce our apprentices that are here to speak in just a moment. But before I do that, I would be remiss if I did not recognize ETP and the staff that worked on these projects. It took many, many, many hands on deck in order to get all of these training directors to you today and their proposals in this packet. So everyone did a really truly incredible job helping us develop these proposals, and that includes many of the program analyst staff in our regional offices. So big kudos to those folks. My regional office manager colleagues as well. We had a lot of coordination. And I'm continually grateful to our staff for their dedication to getting the job done. I would also be remiss if I did not recognize our executive team, who has also supported us through this effort, and Willie Atkinson and his team, as well as my small but mighty team who are sitting over there. So with that being said, I'm grateful to the ETP staff. Okay, so enough of that stuff. So I would really, really like now to introduce to you all the apprentices that are here to speak to you about the impact of the program. They will talk to you about how their apprentice program has changed their lives in very meaningful ways, and we're very grateful to them for coming today. So first up is Mandy Druin. She is with the California Tooling and Machining Apprenticeship Association, here to discuss her experience as an apprentice. So we'd like to welcome Mandy up to the podium.
All right, can you hear me okay? All right. My name is Mandy Druin, and this is a really cool opportunity. Thanks for inviting me. I am a CNC apprentice with the CTMAA, California Tooling Machining Apprenticeship Association. I never thought that this was an opportunity that I would be able to accomplish, and it has done so much for my livelihood, for me and my children. I am a single mom. I had to figure out what I was going to do. My fiance passed away in 2016, and I was left with an 8-month-old and an autistic teen. Okay. So my life took a definite 90-degree angle. And I found myself struggling to figure out what I was going to do to be a single person or parent family for these kids, and also be a strong parent while I was doing that. I couldn't see myself going back to school to get my BA. I did get an AA, it was in advertising and marketing, a completely different skill set. But because I was a single parent, I was unable to continue schooling in any sort of fashion and not work full time and also be a good mom. A family friend gave me an opportunity to go to this tiny, kind of like salt of the earth, mom and pop sort of shop in my hometown area. I am born and raised in Sonoma County. And so I had moved back home because my mom was also supportive. And so I got to come into this warehouse, and I just remembered the smell of the machine oil. And it took me back to my first car. It was actually a truck. Me and my dad built my first truck. It was a 1955 Ford pickup. And I've always loved doing things with my hands. Okay. So I'm not sure why I tried to get into, like, I don't know, the business suit and go in and do the tough thing that you guys kind of do, right? I always wanted to just continually do something. And I had forgotten about that along the way. I can play the part, okay? I think I look pretty good today, clean up pretty well. But I did enjoy just putting on dirty jeans and putting on a t-shirt and getting in there and just creating something. I showed up there and they had me starting on one project. And what it was on this Kitamura machine, which is kind of like a tall sort of one person standing machine, and it has a pallet in it. And it switches back and forth as you fill the pallet and push the button. And the project goes in and it gets cut and it comes out. And then you have to check it with this little gauge and whatnot. I was going so fast, they had to put in two. So the one would go in and one would come out. Then I'd finish that. That one would go in, the other one would have already been out. And I did the project so fast, they decided to keep me. And I think that was a good idea, if you ask me. But I kept working there and I started doing different types of projects. I've done shipping there as well, because that was part of my past. I've done a lot of things in my time on Earth. But my boss saw my potential. And as I continued to work, and I kept remembering back to my 1955 Ford pickup and how we were able to build that and how it was sort of intuitive for me and how I was actually enjoying what I was doing in my job as well. And so the next question was, is this feasible for me? Because when I started in there, obviously it was at a lower wage. And I didn't know that I would be able to go back to schooling and do something like Steve, our CNC engineer, because that's what I wanted to do now. I wanted to be a CNC machinist. And when I tell people that, they kind of look at me crooked. Like, you wanted to do that? I said, yeah, I don't have to get manicures anymore. My fingers are always messed up. No, it's the only thing I cannot do when I dress up is put on nails, because they're just going to pop off Monday morning, and that is fine. But I enjoyed doing it, and I just didn't know how long I would be able to do it and how I was going to be able to continually move up without some sort of schooling. But then how was I going to do the schooling? And it was just like, am I going to be able to stay doing this, or am I going to have to do something else? And I really don't want to do anything else. So the boss brought me in and said, hey, I think you'd be a good person for the CTMA apprenticeship. Do you want to become an apprentice? And I said, okay, this is my chance. Is this what I want to do for my career now? With all the other stuff I have in my past, the graduation from Academy of Art University in marketing advertising, do I want to let that go? Do I want to let go of the fact that I started medical records at the hospital in Santa Rosa? Because I could easily do clerical work. I could easily be an office manager. I've done that before too. I could easily go back to customer service, but trust me, after 7 years as a mall rat, I never want to go back there again. So I said yes. And I got the chance to go back to school. And I get the chance to work. And I get a chance to be a mother to my kids. And my kids, they're so amazed at the stuff that I do and how sometimes I come home covered in oil. And I say, yeah, I worked my butt off today, but you know what? We're going to be okay this month. And I need to take care of my family. And I love you guys. So not only did I get to do what I love, right? I get to go back to school. Oh my God, I take more classes at school now. Even beyond what I'm doing right now. I just love it. So, and our professor at the SRJC, he cracks me up. And I'm like the only female. I've been the only female for the last 3 semesters. Okay. So he kind of picks on me sometimes. And that's okay. We got a good rapport. But yeah, I think about in 2 semesters, I'll already be done with the classes. It took me about 5 semesters. I would like to continue to go. I think I might actually do some more programming, so I can be an engineer someday, CNC engineer. So we're building a project right now, and it's going to be a gift for my boss. And my boss has always been there for me. And so I want to be able to be there for him too, and my kids. So I appreciate the chance to be an apprentice for the state of California. I appreciate the chance to be an example as a female, taking a non-traditional role in these things that, I don't know, Maybe Rosie the Riveter was the last time it was super popular, but you know, I don't mind doing that too. But yeah, this is a really cool opportunity and I thank you guys for letting me come out and tell you how excited I am about my career and how the apprenticeship for CTMAA. I get dyslexic too, so I appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, you're more than free to ask me about how I got involved or what I like, or I don't know. So thanks for letting me speak. Any questions?
Not a question, it's a statement. Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I would just advise that your apprenticeship consider using your other skills that you have built in the past with the
Mhm.
advertising and the marketing so that we can get more women into your
Oh, yeah.
apprenticeship program. So
I do.
well done. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mandy. That was a really incredible story. We so appreciate it. Next, we have Nashina Billingsley, who is a graduate of the Bay Area County's, Roofing Industry Apprentice Training Fund and is also, if I recall correctly, a Navy veteran. So we would really like to welcome Nashina up to the podium.
Thanks, Heather. Good morning, panel. Good morning, everyone, stakeholders. Like Heather said, my name is Nashina Billingsley. I grew up in Solano County, went to school in Sonoma County. Little backstory on myself. I was in healthcare up until into high school. I was working, and on 9/11/2001, I went down to the recruiter's office and I joined up that day with the intentions of being on a submarine. Little did I know women were not allowed on submarines at that point in time. So I wound up being just a naval electricians in the weapons department. Did that for 6 years. I got out and ran a couple of operation plants over in Des Moines, Iowa. Came back home, got homesick, got to get back to California. Came back and decided I wanted to be a solar panel installer. Little did I know that the only solar panel job that this company that I work for currently had bid was the only one. So we finished up that job, and little did I know I was a roofer now. And you got to ask yourself a question. I mean, you know, who wants to be a roofer? But everyone needs a roofer. All right. The apprenticeship program and the staff over there, I was an apprentice, and the wealth of knowledge that those guys gave me, I took to heart. I initiated it in my everyday life. And I was too good to where they sucked me up into management, where I've been the safety director for the past 8 years. I also do quality control. I've served as superintendent, project manager. The apprenticeship school is wonderful. The staff there, the facility, funding like this helps initiate and grow those programs with equipment, with knowledge. I'm also due to funding like this. I am a graduate of Stanford University's virtual design and construction program, which I just graduated last year in October. So programs like this offer a wealth of help for people like myself, for women like myself. As this gentleman back here alluded, as well as the young lady that spoke before me, childcare. I also do the hiring for my company. I've hired 5 women in the past 10 years. They've only lasted maybe less than 6 months. One of those issues was because of childcare. So funding like that would be wonderful for women. I'm pretty sure mothers, I don't have any children, but I do have a bunch of nieces and nephews. And I assure that mothers do not want to leave their children with unsurety while they go to work. So that's a great thing that hopefully this funding can push out for folks. So it's been a wonderful opportunity for me. I still go to the apprenticeship school. I'm there every week, offering my story, offering my help, offering anything I can to the apprentices there, to the program itself. So this is much appreciated. Thank you for having me. If you have any questions, please go.
No, the only thing I would ask is both Mandy and yourself connect with Chief Rude about helping to move with the work with women in construction and women in the trades, because you both have amazing stories and sharing them, and you speak so passionately that it is the great examples that he needs to be able to help double that number. Many of us are up here in suits and smart dress, but also would much rather put a pair of jeans and a t-shirt on. My life, I'm often in jeans and a t-shirt out in the plants. It's a different world, but talking about it and managing that relationship is super important. So please connect with Chief Rude. He'll put you in the contact with the right people, but I think your stories really talk about the importance of apprenticeship and what it can do for people. I'd love for you guys to, he's not that scary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Nashina. Again, we appreciate it. And thank you for your service to our country. We appreciate that as well. And finally, we have one more. We have Mitch Thompson, who is an apprentice with the finishing trades, and he is an industrial painter apprentice. Please welcome Mitch.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the panel. Thank you for allowing me to come here and speak. My name is Mitch Thompson, and I am an active member in the apprenticeship right now. I'm fourth year. I have done almost every kind of construction trade there is, from the beginning to the end of building an entire house. All the trades have something to offer, but my first job as an industrial painter, I went to the top of the Salesforce tower to paint nuts and bolts, which is simple enough. But when you get up there and you're at about 1,200 feet, it's an entire different animal. I knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And the school has provided so much for me, because you work for a company and no company does all of everything. So there's always missing pieces to your job and things that you need to learn. And the school fills in all of those gaps for you. And it just prepares you for any situation that you could possibly have come up at work. Our job as an industrial painter is extremely hazardous. We work with really harsh chemicals. We deal with heavy equipment. And the knowledge is essential, not only for keeping you safe, but possibly saving the life of someone else, as well as not accruing huge OSHA fines because you know what you're not supposed to do. For me, it's the staff, because I don't know if anyone has trouble sleeping, but if you do, just put on an OSHA video and you're there. The staff made it enjoyable, fun, and you're able to relate with them to the information that they're giving you, and you retain it better. And the staff is actually a huge part of why I like the apprenticeship. Essentially, would I want to retire as an industrial painter? I actually want to retire as an instructor for the school. So I think that the school itself is essential for, so many kids that, I'm 40 years old, and I've gone through struggles and stuff. I might be a lot farther ahead than most kids that get into the trade. And those kids that are starting out, they got it rough, because you start with low pay. And then when you go to school, you're not getting paid. So you miss out on opportunities. You can file for unemployment, but it's a struggle. So anytime the school can step forward or have supplies or anything, that helps out, it's amazing. That's about really all I have to say. So if you have any questions for me, I would like to hear them.
You got the back.
Brother Thompson, thank you for sharing your story and the impact that apprenticeship has had on you. We greatly appreciate it. Could you speak to a little bit more about wage progression? So from my understanding, as you are proceeding forward in your apprenticeship program, with every completion of a class or a certain number of hours, then your wages go up, and the importance of that.
So when you start, I started at 50%. So you have 4 classes a year, and every 6 months you get a raise, about 5%. And it's really not until towards the end of the apprenticeship. So like this year, I'm actually doing well. But the first few years that you're in, it is a struggle. You start out with, a much lower wage, but also it does take that amount of time to accrue knowledge. There is so much stuff in industrial painting that you have to know. At any given time on the job site, you have to have like a minimum of 6 certifications, which the school provides. We do all of our equipment, our masks, we have to wear masks all the time. And long shirts, pants, boots, gloves, and then coveralls, and then a Tyvek over that, and then a head sock, with a mask on, all together, in a lot of containments. So, we work with stuff like lead and, carcinogens, and you have to know what's going on. We do bloodlettings. We have to give blood every 2 weeks when we're on a lead job for a certain amount of time. They have to come and they take our blood so they can check our lead levels. And if you're above a certain amount, you can't work at all. And so, like I said, the information and knowing and having the school provide that, and you just being able to retain that information is important to you working. And it does take a while. And when I started, I was, super green is what they call it. And I really didn't know much about industrial painting as a whole, or even really the infrastructure of a city. And now I've been in pipes that I had no idea were even there, so. But in that, by the time you get towards the end of the apprenticeship, you feel like you have accrued the knowledge to where you're earning what you are worth.
Excellent. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.
Big thank you to Mitch and to all of the apprentices for coming today and sharing your story with us. I think for all of us, it's really impactful to hear folks talk about how valuable the apprentice program. So thank you. I have no other information or slides for you all. If you have any questions for myself or Willie on sort of the status of the program, happy to answer any of those now. Otherwise, we can start to get into hearing some of the non-apprentice projects first.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have one real quick one,
Yeah,
Heather.
please, Mike.
I think Chief Deputy Director Gutierrez said that there was some apprentice contracts under review. Was that true still?
Not under review at the moment.
Okay.
We
I
had
mis-
some questions that I think may come up, but
Maybe I misunderstood. Okay. So all of them that were put into the early last year are all being reviewed today?
Yes, the ones that we will be funding this year are here at panel today.
Thank you.
Have questions of the presentation? Do we have any public comment on the presentation?
Righty. Hello, my name is Kelly Greer, and I'm the Managing Director of Strategy Workplace Communications. And I would like to thank you for your review of today's contracts. Can you hear me okay? Oh, excellent. As you can see from today's applications, the commitment to apprenticeships is alive and well in California. And ETP funding has played and continues to play an important role in creating well-trained, financially secured, unionized workers across California. The challenges of COVID are not yet in our rearview mirror, but we're getting close. Allow me to also mention today that, as Mr. Rood explained, a lot of the people in this audience are participating in the ERICA program. This is really a great program. The California Labor Federation and the state building trades will be giving out $4 million in childcare stipends in the next year, excuse me. Also, this funding is being used to help support JATCs across the state to meet monthly collectively to discuss what kind of practices can help them move forward. For example, some of the topics we're going to be introducing are TikTok campaigns. How do you start them? How do you run them for your kind of market you're trying to reach? We also will be talking about, the workforce development industry is quite complicated and who's doing what and who's doing where. So we're hoping to knock down some of those silos. And then finally, another thing that's really important is looking at implicit bias that is coming in the way of people understanding challenges to women, non-binary, and hard to serve communities. And so I would just like to say that I am incredibly honored and proud of the JATCs in this audience, what they do every day to train people like we just heard speak today. Their work is incredibly important, and without your funding would be hard to do. I would also like to thank ETP staff. They have done a great job moving us for the second year in a row to that once a year. That's fabulous. But with that once a year has come challenges. We create these applications in April and survey the JATCs, we collect things, and then now we're in September. So there is a lag in reporting. And so that's really the main thing I want to talk about today. And again, I would just like to say that this is not at any fault of the ETP staff. They're hardworking. They are really committed to giving you accurate information. It's just the calendar changes fast. I'll give you an example. 2 days ago, one of our JATCs, their ET22 closed out. At the time it closed out, their ET23 was at 26%. The day after they closed out their 22, the next day we had their contract at 100%. So this is not training that isn't happening. This is training that due to computer systems and checks that have been put in place, which are really, really good checks that we support, are holding back from accurately giving you the records you need to see performance. So I would also like to say that, there's no problem in the training being delivered. It is just a problem of getting the information up to this. There were a couple challenges this year. We submitted over 70 revisions. Those revisions were to help us move people from veterans category into the apprentice category. During the period of revision, we were asked not to submit any invoices. When we don't submit invoices, then that keeps us from updating our 23 records. Also, one other small thing, it seems like a small point, but in the past, when we submitted invoices, the next day we were allowed to go on and immediately update with the new 23 or the new contracts. This is now a check in place, it doesn't allow that. And so sometimes after we submit an invoice, we can wait anywhere from 1 to 6 months for that actually close out completely. I would like to say 6 months is the exception. Staff is fabulous. The other thing to remember is that often it's not easy for us to get the information to do the retention. When you're working with a company like Pepsi Cola, they can go to their HR department and say, here are the people in the program, give us their work hours and show that they're full-time. But in our case, you have JATCs that have anywhere from 800 to 24 signatories. And so what happens is we have to get their information from multiple sources, and this takes time. This can take anywhere from 1 month to 3 months after the retention period has ended. And I offer this information not as any excuse, but as a way of explaining why we wish we had been able to give you current numbers. And we have passed out a list of the projects we work with. And we hope that those answer any questions about performance that you would have. But if they don't, we are we welcome any questions you might have. And I would like to thank you again for funding these projects that help unionized workers develop skills and lifestyles to build a stronger.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on the presentation?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the panel. Jeremy Smith here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council. This is a council of construction trade unions representing over 450,000 construction workers in California, 3 of whom you heard from today. I'll be very brief. I can't say it better than those 3 apprentices said. I think you all understand that you're changing people's lives here today. And I think those stories illustrated that. I'd like to thank all of you, Acting Director Cooper, Heather, Willie, all the staff that I don't know here for doing that, for doing this hard work. It's a lot. It's very complicated. It's a lot of paperwork, but we very much appreciate the time you put into it. And I think you see today how much it means, not only to the folks you heard from, but the folks you're going to hear from. So thank you both. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment on the presentation? Any further comment from the panel? Hand it back to you, Heather.
So my presentation's over and we'll begin to hear some of the non-apprentice projects.
Chair Bettencourt, are you okay with starting with tab 4, which was the one that was pulled?
Absolutely.
All right, let's do it. Tab 4 is for Santa Clarita Community College District. They are a repeat contractor requesting $749,765 in funding to train 650 retrainees and 45 job creation trainees located statewide. College representatives are present to answer any of the questions the panel members may have.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair and panel members. My name is John Milburn. I'm the Interim Vice President of Workforce and Economic Advancement at Santa Clarita Community College District. And I'm happy to, I also want to thank our monitor, Jello Romero and Ryan Swire for assistance with our proposal today. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. I know I was the one that had questions, but I'm just going to double check with the panel that no one else had any questions.
Since you brought it up.
Yeah.
How soon will the new hires under job creation through your training be able to achieve the higher wages that are listed under the retrainee provision?
I think most of them would be able to achieve the higher wages within the 6 months to 9 months after training, if that's kind of what you're asking.
Yes, that's what I'm asking. Exactly.
That's
So
our
I want to
expectation.
move them up to those higher wages.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Is on her path. I just wanted to double check. When I was looking at your employers, and I know I brought this up with staff, and they said, well, they're coming to panels. So I'm like, I'm going to ask this question. You have Classic Wire having 129 employees in California, but training 180 to be retrained. Am I assuming correct that those are job creation more so than, is that where the number is different?
Actually, that is a typo.
Okay.
They are set to train 90 or 100 employees. And I apologize for that. It got past all 5 of us and through, so that's just an error.
So does that affect our overarching number in the contract? Looking at Ryan.
No, it's not going to affect that number. So what this is with the employer demand, it's just an indication of possible demand for the contract. So there's many other employers that are going to participate in this contract, but as part of one of the requirements to bring it to the panel is that, and this, I don't know when this went into place, but the panel had wanted to see that demand up front to make sure that there was actual demand there for the proposals. So we do try to aim towards to get around, I believe it's 70% of the total amount of bodies in the contract to have that demand up front. But John and I spoke yesterday as well too. They have multiple other employers that will participate. These folks are not contractually obligated to complete this agreement, but they have expressed interest in participating in the agreement.
So when we look at this, those 7 employers you have are looking at the interest of it, but you will have potential after that. So we just had that typo. Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure that number was, if there was a typo or something incorrect.
Thank you for catching it.
That's all right. Some days I catch it.
Yeah.
Or she does.
She does.
Sometimes down there, but usually it's between. All right. So anyone else have any further questions about the proposal? Is there a motion to approve this?
Motion to approve the Santa Clarita Community College District ETP proposal and a funding amount of $749,785.
Second.
And do I have any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you very much, panel. Appreciate that.
Good morning, panel members. Next, we have tab 5, a healthcare workforce advancement proposal from Soma AEC Inc., DBA Oxman College. They are a repeat contractor requesting $735,048 to train 249 trainees. Since attending the July panel, Oxman College has addressed panel's questions and concerns and has applied the following changes to the proposed training plan. The participating employer's target population has shifted from statewide to the Bay Area counties and Yuba County. With the change to the planned counties, the HUA wage modification is no longer needed, resulting in the removal of the HUA job numbers from the training plan. The planned number of trainees has increased in job number 1 and number 2. Occupation titles in both job numbers have been consolidated, focusing on the participating employer's needs for the counties served, and the average training hours have decreased from 150 to 120 hours. Additionally, Oxman College trainers are full-time employees employed by the college and will provide training on-site and at the participating employers' locations. Present today is a representative from Oxman College to answer any questions.
Name is Michael Dworkin and president.
Hi, I'm Sonia Pugach, Program Director of Oxman College. Good morning, panel members and staff. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present our proposal today. We'd like to thank the staff, our development analysts, Christina Kaiser, and managers Phil Boyer and Diana Torres for all their help with preparing our proposal. And thank you, panel members, for giving us the opportunity to further present our proposal for the Healthcare Workforce Advancement Fund. After the July panel meeting, we implemented all required adjustments based on the panel recommendations and are excited to be here today in front of you. As Phil described in the introduction, in summary, the revisions that have been applied to our proposal include: a revised focus narrows down healthcare employers located in the Bay Area counties rather than the entire state. Because of the smaller geographic area, the high unemployment area component has been removed from our proposal, so we are not requesting wage modification for that category. Just to note, our instructors work for Oxman College and are located in the Bay Area. We offer the option to train at our campus locations or on-site at the participating employer's location. On-site training provides flexibility and a customized curriculum for the employer and a trainee to better meet their needs. Furthermore, we have enhanced our website to provide detailed information about our healthcare programs and to reflect our outstanding performance in our retraining projects. As stated in our proposal, in the past 8 years, we successfully provided medical skills training for for-profit healthcare employers who qualify for regular ETP funding. Our collaborative efforts have spanned across multiple healthcare facilities, training individuals in medical professions. The healthcare workforce advancement funding we seek today will enable us to apply our accumulated expertise to benefit nonprofit healthcare facilities with similar training needs. These facilities previously ineligible for regular ETP funding stand to gain immensely from our program. Training will lead to an improvement in clinical skills and additional certifications, which leads to a better annual evaluation. The better the evaluation, the more opportunity for an increase in the trainees' wages, promotion opportunities, and in providing healthcare services to meet the needs of that area. Once again, we appreciate the invaluable input provided during the previous panel meeting, both during the meeting and through the follow-up questionnaire. Your guidance has been pivotal in refining our proposal, and we remain committed to delivering optimal results that serve the community's healthcare needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the panel have any questions?
I do. So thank you for coming back and presenting today. You've addressed many of the concerns that we raised at the last panel meeting when you came before us before we tabled it. I do still have some concerns around the low wages for job creation under job number 2. And when I see listed only paying a CNA, a certified nursing assistant, only $18.54 an hour up to 20, and then there's a second tier. And then also for frankly, the rest of the occupation titles, there's a big gap there for me.
Okay,
And
so-
when I look at the wages of other applicants that are applying for the same pot of funding, they are paying much higher wages for these medical professionals. I would really like to see those wages from job number 2 instead be those wages listed in job number 1.
Do that?
You agree?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I think it mirrors something in the impact and outcomes of the contract, the application around the drive to 25 for CNA wages. Like, are those employers buying into that? As I look at it, this is a 2-year contract. So my hope would be they were hitting more that 25 than the 22 that's listed in here.
I agree.
Thank you.
So we want to move the wages up to 25? I like that idea.
I'm just reading what's saying in here that the participating employers are looking for methods to recruit and retrain, and many of them support that association drive. That I think as it's called out in there, I think it's really important that we mirror that in the wage tables because it's called out there. It's the first time I've seen someone call it out. So I think it's fantastic in the drive of helping healthcare move those wages and higher wages coming in, that I think we should honor what's in there.
I like that.
Anyone have proposals on
You're
that? I'm looking at.
Good.
Okay.
Excuse me, panel, just to confirm, what is the wage increase to job number 2, the dollar amount?
I think we're looking at a maximum of up to 25.
A minimum of 25. What you just said, right?
Well, it says the initiative drive to 25, and I am not overly familiar with it. So this is where it says the initiative drive to 25 to increase CNA wages gradually to $25 per hour by 2025.
So it isn't a little bit, it's going to take.
I
them-
think it's saying we're going that 22 to 25 versus those lower ones that are in, if I pull up the page, the lower wage bracket, Phil, in there.
Yeah.
Does that?
So at where I want to be,
Yeah.
where I think we're going to be, because that is going to take some time to get there to those higher wages, is to have the wages that are listed in job number 1 be the same wages that are listed in job number 2. So we're going to move the CNAs from the 1854 up to the bracket for 2016 to 22 and as applicable.
I actually think you want to go for that higher bracket in job creation 2, the 2101 to 22 for both your job 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's true. I do want to do that.
That's what I think we're saying we want to do. Did you? You're going to make the motion for me?
Do you have any other concerns that you'd like to discuss?
That's,
Chair.
I'm just clicking back on your one, yeah.
Okay.
Unless anyone has any other questions,
I gotcha.
comments.
Okay, ready? This is recorded, so I got this. Motion to approve the SOMA AEC DBA Oxman College ETP funding amount is $735,048 with the understanding that we are moving the wages listed for the certified nursing assistants to a minimum of, or a range of 2101 to 22 an hour. And the other relevant job number 2 occupations are going to move up to the wages listed in job number 1.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment on this proposal? You want clarity? I can
Yeah,
see
just
the
for some
clarity,
quick
yeah.
clarity on that, there was 2 different wages that were discussed for the minimum wage in job number 2, the 2101 and the 2266.
We are moving all the CNAs in job number 2 up to 2101 to 22.
And all the CNAs in job number 1 to that same 2101 to 22.
Just to add that to my motion, all the CNAs listed in job number 1 to 2101 to 22.
Okay.
Everyone's getting a pay increase.
The way it works, just so you know, with the minimum wage That's the ETP contractual post minimum wage. So we've got mental health aides at $20.16.
These are for the CNAs.
Correct, but they're all in the same job number. So that minimum contract post retention wage is what we need for all of the folks within that job number. If that makes sense for the minimum wage. We don't have it spelled
So
out per
mental health
occupation.
aides are listed as having the same wage range for job number 1 and job number 2. So that stays the same. It's not applicable to them. But we are moving the wages up for all the other job occupations up to the higher amount that's listed. Correct. Yes.
So 2101 is the ETP minimum wage.
Yes.
Job number 2.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect.
Sorry, the audience can't see these graphs. I know. No idea what we're talking about.
Might we restate that motion, just to be clear?
You would like,
State this again?
good luck question.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm rescinding the first motion. I'm going to redo this motion, looking at our legal counsel. Move to approve the SOMA AEC DBA Oxman College ETP proposal in a funding amount of $735,048 with the understanding that we are moving the wages, the minimum wages stated for the CNAs up to 2101 to 22 an hour. And lifting up the wages that are listed at a lower amount in job number 2 up to a higher amount already listed in job number 1.
Thank you.
Okay, can I have a second? Thank you. So we have no comment from the public on this proposal, correct? So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much.
We really appreciate it. Very good.
Good morning, panel members. I will be presenting the proposals developed in the San Diego Regional Office. If you will please turn to tab number 6. St. Joseph Health Northern California LLC. This would be St. Joseph Health Northern California's first ETP project. St. Joseph Health Northern California is requesting $499,859 total ETP funding. They plan to train a total of 211 retrainees in 1 job number. St. Joseph Health Northern California's headquarters is in Humboldt, California, with an additional location in Napa County. Training funded by ETP's HWA funds will improve the recruitment and retention of high-quality healthcare and behavioral health workers, enhancing the hospital's ability to provide quality healthcare to patients in their community. Representatives from St. Joseph Health Northern California are here today to address questions from the panel.
Hello, Madam Chairwoman and the panel. I'm Amanda Magram. I'm a registered nurse. I'm also the Senior Director of Education and Professional Practice with St. Joseph of Northern California. I would like to thank Skylar Phillips from the San Diego office for her invaluable experience with helping us prepare our proposal. Our hospitals, as you know, continue to struggle to meet the healthcare demands or the demand for workers that we have, especially with the pandemic, as well as our aging population. We anticipate hiring approximately 400 new nurses over the course of the 3 years. Those are most critical for us. I want to thank the panel for considering our proposal for funds that will allow us to hire our new employees to meet the growing needs of our patients and to provide critical skill development to our workforce that, as we can see today, improves their pride and we know will improve our patient outcomes. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have for me.
Thank you. Does the panel have any questions?
Wanted to commend you on your high wages for everyone. Thank you very much for that.
I am very grateful for that too.
Motion to approve contract number ET 24-0185 in the funding amount of $499,859.
I hear a second.
Second.
Do we have any comment from the public on this proposal? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. Thank you.
You will please turn to tab number 7, St. Mary Medical Center, DBA St. Mary Regional Medical Center. This would be St. Mary Regional Medical Center's first ETP project.
St. Mary Regional Medical Center is requesting $498,640 total ETP funding. They plan to train a total of 271 retrainees and 1 job member. St. Mary Regional Medical Center's headquarters is in San Bernardino, California. St. Mary Regional Medical Center is the largest employer in Apple Valley and the second largest employer in the entire high desert region. Their ability to retain staff, provide nurses with career advancement, and grow its workforce is vital to support the regional economy and provide financial stability to employees. Representatives from St. Mary Regional Medical Center are here today to address questions from the panel.
Hello, Ms. Chair and the panel. My name is Amy Grimsley. I am the Director of Clinical Education and Professional Practice at St. Mary's Medical Center in Apple Valley. Thank you to Skylar for all of her help when preparing this, and Kellen Hernandez, who has helped guide us through our first application, and we appreciate you much. This ETP funding is going to allow us to increase the services that we are able to provide locally in Apple Valley. And it's critical for our employees to gain more skills so that they have a higher professional wage range in the future. I want to note that as we were preparing for today, we did find an error on our proposal. That's an oversight on ours. The starting wage for our new graduate RNs was $45 an hour. We just finished our union negotiations. It is now $51 and some odd change for starting wage. It is not the $22.07 that was in our proposal. Thank you, the panel, for your consideration, and I'm here for any questions.
Thank you. Does the panel have any questions?
Motion to approve contract number ET 24-0186 in the amount of $498,640.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you all.
Next, we have tab 8, a healthcare workforce advancement proposal from Kauai Delta Healthcare District Guild, DBA Kauai Health. They're a first-time contractor requesting $499,928 to train 247 workers. Training will take place at all 17 hospital locations within Visalia. Present today is a representative from Kauai Health to answer any questions.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here. My name is Hannah Mitchell. I'm the Director of Organizational Development at Kauai Health. We are very excited as our first official proposal. And so we are a standalone community health system with 613 beds located in Visalia, California, in the Central Valley. It is a challenging area because not only is there high unemployment rates, high health needs, and just a high demand for healthcare in general. So very, very important place for funding and progressing careers, helps bring people out of poverty into high wage career progression as well. Even though we're in a very impoverished and challenged area, we are committed to being a world-class healthcare choice for life. It's actually part of our vision statement. And we had recently been awarded by Health Grades the top 100 hospitals within the nation, which puts us in the top 2% and top 50 for cardiac surgery as well. So really important work that we are doing and trying to support the community. With this funding, it helps us continue with programs that we've built and that we are in the process of building around charge nurse education, building leadership training for them, emerging leaders training, and increasing medical skills, as well as things like training preceptors, which leads to wage progression. It helps us continue to expand the work that we're doing and really help both our staff at the organization as well as the community. Happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Does the panel have any questions?
Just a question about your wages for the CNAs. It states in the chart that I'm looking at that they start between $20.01 an hour up to $25 an hour. But then when I go further down into your proposal, it states that they're starting at $16.42.
Yes, so we had actually caught that. That was a typo from when the application was submitted to the proposal, and we missed it in our multiple rounds of review. But that is something that the correct one is the 16 to 25 wage range for that one. But we are in the process of reevaluating and moving it up to, we are hoping 21. We've got some final decisions being made around that within HR.
Strongly encouraged.
Yes, we would really love to be able to do that and are working on that right now. And then in addition, the LVN wage has actually gone up since then as well too. So for that one, we originally had 20.01 to 25. That is now 26 to 40. And our RN wage has actually started at 45 and is looking to continue going up again as well. So we regularly do market adjustments to try to really help support a competitive wage within the
Lovely
work.
So with those updates, looking at our general counsel, do I need to make a motion to have those new wages reflected in their proposal? Because I really like those new LVN wages.
I'm sure they do too.
Correct. Now, I mean, if you're changing the proposal, yeah, you would want to make that in part of your motion.
Going to reflect the new wages. Okay. Just so I got that, can you say the new LVN wages up to 26 to 40? No, it's the.
Yes, 26 to 40.
Is it that piece that's further in the proposal? I think it's sort of.
I'm gonna change it in the wage table. Okay.
Is those numbers of the 1642 to 2463 for CNA is the correct for CNA?
Correct.
And the LVN is 2629 to grow to 3943. Not what was in the wage table that was 2001 to 25 for both of those occupations.
Yeah.
So LVNs
The
and
LVNs
CNA.
changed, but the CNAs
CNAs
haven't changed yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are currently
They're
under market
strongly
review.
encouraged to do so.
Strongly believing it's going to look like 21 based on conversations with our executive team.
Gretchen, as far as the wages for that are showing here for these trainees, contractually, that does not change. We don't change the 130. This is a proposal that we have just for the purposes of presenting it to you. What goes into the contract is just that contractual post-retention wage.
Just the 2001?
Correct.
The question I'm thinking you're asking is whether or not the proposal needs to be changed. The proposal is what's in the panel packet. So if you're wanting to modify the proposal that's coming before you, then you would be making a change, or you could just do it by agreement. We've done that before as well.
You agree? Okay, I'll do that.
We're excited for this funding.
And what Ryan, I think, is indicating is that the contract itself will still be reflected without.
Yeah, I see that, Ryan. Thank you. But watch it. Get those higher wages. Okay. Motion to approve the Kauai Delta Healthcare District Guild, DBA Kauai Health in ETP funding amount of $499,928.
Thank you. Any discussion or comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Yeah.
Who was the second on that motion? Thank you.
Great. Panel members, please turn to tab 9. This is a single employer core funded project for Doctors Hospital of Riverside, LLC. They are a first-time contractor and are requesting $458,850 to train 550 retrainees and 25 job creation trainees located in Riverside. Hospital representatives are present to answer any questions the panel members may have.
Good morning, Chairwoman and panel. My name is Julie Curtis. I am actually the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Nursing Officer for Doctors Hospital Riverside. This is our first request for funding. I've done it before with another employer. I know kind of how it goes, and I'm pretty excited to be up here again because working with Doctors Hospital, that was a bankrupt facility more than 6 years ago. And obviously we took over with the parent company in 2019 to kind of resurrect it. Post-COVID, we're really looking for this funding to enhance our services and continue to improve our access to care in the community. So I'm happy to answer some questions.
Do we have any questions from the panel?
Motion to approve Doctors Hospital Riverside LLC, contract number ET 24-0214, the amount of $458,850.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any comment from the public on this proposal? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you so much.
If you will please turn to tab number 10, Johnson, Finch, and McClure Construction, Inc. This would be JFM Construction's first ETP project. JFM Construction is requesting $354,246 total ETP funding. They plan to train a total of 302 retrainees over 2 job numbers. JFM Construction's headquarters is in Lakeside, California, with an additional location in San Bernardino County. JFM Construction has 2 affiliates that will participate in this project, Burner Sheet Metal LLC and Spec 7 LLC. JFM Construction is requesting productive lab training for a total of 115 carpenters, field staff, field laborers, journeymen, and production workers in this project, where they may receive between 0 to 15 hours of productive lab training. This amount of productive lab training equates to approximately 29% of individual trainees' weighted average hours of training. Representatives from JFM Construction are here today to address questions from the panel.
Good morning. First off, I'd like to thank the panel for taking the time to view our application. My name is Lance McClure. I am Vice President of Johnson, Finch, and McClure. We are a specialty contractor that performs metal stud framing, drywall, lath and plaster, doors, frames, and hardware, building insulation. Our typical projects include education facilities, transportation facilities, high-rise residential, and affordable housing projects. I would like to touch on 2 areas of concern that arised in the application process. First was wage progression. We have both prevailing wage and private projects. Our workers are reviewed annually. Our new workers are reviewed annually and receive merit-based increases as their skill levels increase. So as an example, an entry-level field staff employee could go from $18.23 to $25 immediately after their first annual review. Secondly, I would like to touch on the job creation. We are planning on hiring 104 new workers during this ETP contract period. Prior to the pandemic, when construction slowed and the economy shut down, we had 298 employees. We currently have 198 workers. And fortunately, we've been fortunate to be awarded 4 high-rise residential towers to go along with our current annual sales goals that we have met. With these additional projects and utilizing our company's historical data, there will be the need for 104 new employees. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the panel?
Care to elaborate on what you're doing to attract more women to join you in the construction trade?
So currently, we do outreach programs with women in construction. A lot of our women, we do currently in the field itself have 2 women in their drywall finishers. So we are always promoting it. We love promoting within, bringing family members in, and when the time arises, we always bring them on board.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I do have one. So you were talking about growth, and I look at this, that's a huge growth over 2 years. And I know it's a booming industry. There's a lot of need. There's a lot of demand, especially post-COVID and some of those restrictions. But I'm just a bit nervous from a performance perspective, where you're looking at 198 of current, and then pretty much the majority of your entire workforce. If I remember correctly, you have 205 employees in California and 198 you're putting in for retrainee, and then another 104. I just want to make sure you perform because it does affect in future. And so I just have a bit of a uncomfortable feeling of it is a huge growth, and I know it's happening and I've seen it in other contracts. It's just something that is a bit concerning. I don't know if anyone else has any concerns, or if there's a movement that can be done in, are there more hours? On the weighted averages, you're looking at the same weighted average for both job categories. If there's anything there, I don't know if anyone else shares the same concern.
But traditionally, historically, what we've done, Madam Chair, for instances of this where it's a first-time contractor, we want you to be successful. The worst case scenario is that, as she's mentioning with the concerns of like, we fund you at the full amount that you're requesting, and then there isn't a success. So then when you come back, there's like anything lower than an 85%, really 95%, you're going to get a red flag from us for the next time around.
Okay.
So there's traditionally opportunities also to come back to, if you are successful in getting 100% of what is funded today, to say, hey, look, I'm back. We're doing a great job. We're back for more money and more training. Let's do this. And then you can come back to get an amendment to add to your contract. And I think would be a little bit more comfortable with us today. I defer to the chair as to what amount she's looking at.
I don't think I know 100%. I just wanted to see the panel's feeling about this. I know some of you are closer to the industry as well than I am. I just want to make sure the performance is there for yourselves. Because we've seen some where they've had large numbers and they have struggled to perform in that piece.
I'm Bill Sachs with National Drink. How would you feel if we came down to 50 folks in the job 2 category?
So 50 folks in the job 2 category, so take it down by just over 50%, and then keep the 198 you're saying in the retrainee with the same weighted averages. I feel fairly good with that.
Yes. I like
Yep.
that.
Everyone
I
else
like that
agree?
suggestion.
Any other questions, comments from the panel on this one?
Yeah, and just one question. When you were talking about hiring women, I'm wondering if you have a goal or objective for the new hires. And if you don't, can maybe consider establishing an objective?
Yes. My wife is in construction, in the construction industry. She's very involved with women in construction in the San Diego market. She drags me along to the associations as well. And we are targeting women to actually get into the field of construction and apprenticeship programs. There is nothing in place at this time, but I will actively pursue that.
Okay, fantastic. So any further comments or questions from the panel?
Basically a calculation.
Chairperson Betancourt, I'd like to clarify what you're requesting on the funding side. If you want to change the estimated number of trainees to 50 total.
Correct.
Then job number 2 would be $58,650. Then that's also changing the total proposed amount requested to $295,596.
Yes.
So you need to clarify that on your.
Correct, in the motion as we go with this. Yeah.
I do the motion?
You are more than welcome to do the motion. I know you were working it out.
Okay, motion to approve the Johnson, Finch and McClure Construction ETP contract proposal and a funding amount of, where did I circle it? $295,596.
Second.
And here's second, thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If you will please turn to tab number 13. I'm sorry, actually 12, tab number 12 has withdrawn. Newman Replacement Windows, Inc. Yeah, tab number 11, Newman Replacement Windows, Inc. has withdrawn from today's panel meeting. Turn to tab number 12, please. TC Construction Company, Inc. This would be TC Construction's first ETP project. TC Construction is requesting $356,891 in total ETP funding. They plan to train a total of 236 free trainees over 2 job numbers. TC Construction headquarters is in Santee, California. This training project will support TC Construction's efforts to introduce a streamlined training program that focuses on new technologies, cross-training current employees, providing training above industry standards across multiple trades. TC Construction is requesting productive lab training for a total of 75 construction staff, equipment operators, and field staff in this project, where they may receive between 0 to 15 hours of productive lab training. This amount of productive lab training equates to approximately 25% of the individual trainees' weighted average hours. Representatives from TC Construction are here today to address questions from the panel.
Hello, my name is Jack Giffords. I'm the CFO at TC Construction. We're a sewer water storm drain contractor and do a little bit of paving. Most of our work is with public agencies, municipalities, things like that nature, prevailing wage work through regulations through the state of California and DIR. We've been in business since 1977 in San Diego County, located more in East County and Santee. We are looking very excited about this program and the opportunities that we can provide our employees in advancement, because that's really the goal, is advancement. So we're excited to answer any questions that you had. I know one of the issues came up with wage progression, and those issues are real simple. We usually start our employees with 0 experience, some of them straight out of high school or maybe other industries. They're starting at $20.10 at a minimum, and they work their way up. Very similar to a lot of companies. They do get reviews, whether they could be as early as 3 months to at the most 1 year for reviews, and they can range anywhere from $3 to $5 an hour on an increase right away. Of course, a lot of our work is prevailing wage, so those wages are dictated by the state of California or what those classes are. Happy to answer any questions. I just want to thank the panel and for letting us be here today and reviewing our application.
Thank you. Does the panel have any questions?
As you mentioned, most of your work is affiliated with Public Works.
Yes, it
and
is.
So then you're paying prevailing wages. Are you also doing apprenticeship utilization in payment of those prevailing wages as well? Because the apprentices are absent from the proposal.
Yes, so we use the AGC as our apprenticeship program, and that's separate. That's a different deal. That's apprenticeship and what the apprenticeship program does and trains and things like that. What we're doing is more specific to our type of work. We have a hard hat program that we initiate to all our employees, so we know where they are in the stage of experience, who we need to mentor, who needs the extra hand holding for training. We have what they call a pothole log system. We do a lot of digging to look for utilities, and it's very unsafe if you're not trained properly. So we have a specific program for that. These are programs and trainings that are different and separate from where we get our apprentices from.
Okay, very good.
I had one very small question, and it's just around your wages on your construction staff. On your job 2, you start them at $25.73, going up to the same as what you have in your job number 1 of $42.33. Is that the realistic wage that they come in at, or do they come more at that $13.97 that you have in your retrainee in job category 1?
Yeah, I'm sorry, could you repeat it?
So your construction staff in job 2, you start at $25.73, going up to $42.33.
Yep.
Your construction staff in job number 1 in retrainee, you have at $30.97, going up to $42.33. I'm just curious, is it because of skill level when they're coming in? It's a slightly lower wage to start with. You're looking at retrainees who have been, or on the retrainee piece, where they've been with you for a while, so have progressed already.
That's exactly it.
Okay, not a worry. Thank you. Any further questions from the panel or comments?
One more. So when your construction staff is on a prevailing wage job,
yes,
are they ever on a non-prevailing wage job, a non-public works or a private job?
Not at the same time, no.
Well, obviously not at the same time. That would be a real mess. But I'm trying to inquire, do their wages fluctuate? Or they come on board with you as a construction staff member, this is the wage that they're getting paid, it's a prevailing wage job. They finish that prevailing wage job, a public works job, the next day they're dispatched to a private job. Is there fluctuation in their wages? Are they decreasing because it's now a private job?
I'm not going to say it would never do that, but for the most part, we start our new employees on jobs like private jobs. We work a lot with Lennar Homes. We'll start them there in private jobs, teach them mentor them, teach them the way that we need them to be safe and do the procedures that we have in place, train them how to dig with an excavator. The goal is progression, and the
Yes.
progression is to prevailing wage. It's a whole different ballgame working in the public street compared to open dirt areas. It's very dangerous. There's the public and all this different training that has to come along. And that's where we're trying to progress everyone to. 80% of our work is public work. So we're talking about a small percentage that we're dealing with.
Okay. Thank you for that. This panel is all about progression of wages as well. We share that value with you. I just want to make sure that as the construction workforce is fluctuating between public and private works, that they're not seeing a decrease in their wages. It's all about progression again. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the panel? Is there a motion to approve this proposal?
I had one. I
Yeah.
apologize. So you say that there is no change in wages once they're doing public work?
It's rare that they bounce back to a private job, but their wage goes up no matter what. Just because you're working on a prevailing wage job doesn't mean you have an annual review and a wage increase. You can be hired on at $20, $25 an hour, and every year you're getting a wage increase. Just because you're working on a prevailing wage job doesn't mean you don't get your wage increase reviewed and increased. But it's not likely that you're going to move back. If we move people back, they'll leave us. I mean, there's other places to work. So it's rare. But again, they're still getting their wage increases. I don't know how to best explain it. Even though you're on a prevailing wage job as a class, group one laborer that makes 40 something dollars an hour, your base wage, you've been there 5, maybe 10 years, could be $32 an hour, right? If you were to go back to a private job, let's say if you've been there 10 years. But the likelihood is you're staying on public works projects. You've been trained, you've been certified, you've got all the tools to stay on that job. That's where we're keeping people.
I think the specific question being asked is, are the workers being paid prevailing wage on private jobs?
That's no, they are not.
Any further questions or discussion from the panel? Is there a motion to approve the proposal?
Motion to approve TC Construction Company ETP funding amount of $356,891.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Any public comment on this proposal? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you.
You will please turn to tab number 13, Temecula Valley Hospital. This would be Temecula Valley Hospital's third ETP project and the third in the last 5 years. Temecula Valley Hospital is requesting $427,800 in total ETP funding. They plan to train a total of 381 retrainees over 2 job numbers. Temecula Valley Hospital's headquarters is in Temecula, California. This project will focus on training new graduate nurses, provide them with the advanced medical skills training to successfully perform duties in specialty units such as their emergency department and intensive care unit. Temecula Valley Hospital's prior project earned $663,520, which was 100% of their awarded funding amount. Representatives from Temecula Valley Hospital are here today to address questions from the panel.
Morning, panel members. My name is Angie Camacho. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer at Temecula Valley Hospital. And I just want to thank you for considering our proposal today to further support and grow our much needed nursing workforce that unfortunately has been depleted. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you. Does the panel have any questions on this proposal? Other questions? Is there a motion to approve this proposal?
Motion to approve the Temecula Valley Hospital ETP proposal on a funding amount of $427,800.
Second.
Much. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. I think we are now moving back to Heather and Willie, or actually is it the Heather show? It's the Heather show. She's ready.
All me, baby.
Have you had the caffeine to get you through this bit? She's got extra.
I've had a couple cups
Okay.
of coffee. If I have any more, I will speak so fast you will not know what I'm saying.
Well, that might be a good thing. I don't know.
If I may, if this is a good time to break, because we will have a pretty good number of proposals coming up. How the time will go is yet to be seen, but if we want to, this might be a good time to do that.
I would love a break. However, I heard a little birdie say that there is an apprentice in the room that needs to go back to work and is affiliated with one of the proposals right now.
So why don't we hear that proposal first, and then we can take a break after.
Because you just want to go back to that CNC, don't you, machine, rather than being here with us. Oh, that's important.
There's
That's
this-
super important.
There's this thing called lost time wages.
Work and tests, right? So can you hear me okay? Okay. Just to reiterate, we will be hearing these projects and groupings identified by industry cluster. So if you have questions on projects within that, we can pull those individuals, we can bring them to the podium. But we have a request, Gretchen, thank you so much for reminding me, for the fabricated metal products industry first. There is only one project within this industry, and you will find that on tab 72. This is a project for California Tooling and Machining Apprenticeship Association, and they are requesting $49,700 in funding to train CNC machinists, industrial machinery mechanics, machinists, maintenance machinists, mold makers, quality control inspectors, and tool and die makers. And they are here to answer any questions that you all may have on their project.
Good morning, panel, the chairperson. I want to thank you. My name is Dick Herman. I'm president of CTMAA. I promise you, Mandy was entirely unscripted. You saw me, I just about broke into tears. I want to thank this program. This is our fifth approach for a contract. What you enable for people like Mandy and others is a program that is very often small employer based, 10, 15 employees, to larger employers as well. And without this program, I doubt we'd be serving those employees or employers. I just doubt it. So thank you very much. We've made our request. Are there any questions or?
Does the panel have any questions?
It appears that your proposal has been right-sized based off of past performance.
Correct.
So thank you for doing that.
Correct.
I do note a wage modification request, reducing what we would normally pay for a post-retention wage for apprentices of $30.90 an hour to less than that. I understand what you're saying as to why. So I just want to iterate to you, increase those wages. That's what we're all about here.
We absolutely embrace that, and we're pushing on that daily.
And I think I echo something on Gretchen's comments around performance. We saw obviously it was right-sized. I'm looking at your active contract at the moment. We pulled some numbers the other day, and you're sitting a year, just over a year in, over actually then. So the term is 8/23/21 to 8/22/23. The actual percentage we have is currently is tracking at 50%. So I would just ask to make sure we're staying ahead, because I do worry that prior performance and then this one, just making sure that you are going to close out that, because it does worry slightly when we look at that.
It does, and we are tracking it very carefully. Just by way of a quick aside, everybody has mentioned the impacts of COVID. In professions like Mandy's, it's a hands-on training. We're a nonprofit. We spent our entire reserve to address the impacts of COVID, to get apprentices through, to actually contract for educational facilities that we didn't have access to because they need hands-on. The second thing we did we impacted, unfortunately, there are employers who poach trained employees, and we frankly, we didn't foresee that. And we experienced a 1-year poaching of almost 8%, which was just, I didn't see it. I didn't see it coming. We're aware of it now. And in order to address that and to achieve, what we've promised, we hired 2 new individuals and we track now, instead of tracking every quarter or every 6 months, we track every month. We put in new software. We're staying ahead of that. So yes, we understand the impact of that and we're taking steps to address it.
Okay, you just have to come back and have to right size again on future ones based on that. So that's why we're just calling that out for you. Thank you. Any further comments, questions from the panel on this proposal?
Motion to approve California Tooling and Machining Apprenticeship Association contract number ET 24-0946 in the funding amount of $49,700.
Do I have a second? Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you so much.
And thank you again to Mandy for
Right.
coming and presenting to panel. And so now we would like a break. Is that correct?
Can I just ask though, just while you're on break, something to think about is I do intend on asking about best practices by industry for what you're doing to help us reach our goals from the Governor Newsom on how to advance and expand access to traditional construction apprenticeship programs for women and minorities. So best practices, love to hear from you when you come up to the microphone by industry.
Do we want, how long do we want? I'm looking at the time. 10 minutes?
30 seconds.
Do you want, how, you need to snooze, don't you, before this? Yeah. Okay, so 10 minutes. I'm going to call it as 11:45. So back here at 11:55. Thank you.
I don't think I'm ready.
For tabs 35 through 42. So if there are any recusals, let me know now. Okay. So in tabs 35 to 42, we have 8 proposals for the finishing trades. There's approximately $2,137,619 in funding in these proposals. These apprentices apprentices and journey workers, include occupations such as painters, drywall finishers, flooring installers, glaziers, plasters, tile layers, and finishers, and marble finishers. And with that, I'll open it up to the panel for any questions that they may have for this industry.
So I think I'm going to follow in Gretchen's request of, first of all, we would like to ask that any of those that have best practices of how we are creating diversity within and recruiting within diversity to come up and share best practices. We are asking legal counsel to time keep for us. So each of you who would like to come and share best practices from this bunch of trades, from the finishing trades, we'll have 90 seconds each, and Mike is timing it tight. So to keep us on track. So if any of you would like to do that, please come up and then we will let you know which ones we have questions on.
And if you could state your name and which program you're with.
All right. Thank you, panel members. I'm Alex Beltran, Director of Training for the Finishing Trades Institute of Northern California and Nevada. So we were participants of working on the ERICA grant with several entities, and we received some funding. Well, we haven't actually seen the money yet, but we were told the money's there and it's on its way. And we are proud to know that we're going to be able to help a lot of young women in the trades and single moms and families that need help with the daycare situation. We're also extending our apprenticeship program with the state of California by starting up our first registered pre-apprenticeship program for diversity, inclusion. And then, so we got that approval this year as well. We're working with Oakland Unified Career and Adult Education, and we're expanding it into the Sacramento area as well with our new training center here in West Sacramento. So that's been one of the leading things that we've been trying to partner with all the different agencies and entities to afford us the opportunity to have a bigger pool to recruit from and to make sure we're hitting those numbers. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Next.
Good morning, Madam Chair and panel. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Mark Ansel. I am the training coordinator for Northern California tile industry. And I basically just want to thank you for what you've done for us and allowed us to continue to grow in our apprenticeship program. For what we've been doing as far as for women, we work with Tradeswomen Incorporated. We attend a lot of outreach, career fairs, college fairs, and try to draw in women and underserved. I do go down every couple of months to Fresno, and they have an MC3 program down there that last time I was there, it was an all-women cohort. And I want to say there was close to 20 women there. And we actually, not me, but our bricklayer, Josh, we're both local 3. They had one sign up from down there. So we try our best to get women and the underserved into the program. It's a little difficult with the women because it's a tough job. It's messy and they don't seem to, the retention's pretty bad. So we're working hard to keep them interested. Questions?
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the panel. My name is David Bertle. I'm with the FTI of DC 36. I'm the training director. How we've worked with our local community groups is specifically, like our previous speaker had said, we also partner with the Erica Grant program at the beginning of the year. We're in the process of working through that to get some funding to help with childcare services for our female apprentices and other apprentices as well within our program. We've also partnered with a few of the community groups for diversity, such as the Community Build Los Angeles and the Black Worker Center. And we're working directly with the Black Worker Center on an all-female cohort to get some of their graduates or those that completed the program into our industrial paint program. So far, we've had 2 enter the program, and we're looking to keep them busy, keep them going, and stay positive within our program. And then we've also worked with the winter program as well locally, and we've been working with them for a number of years.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, so we have tabs 35 to 42. I am looking at the panel to see if there were any that you would like to ask any questions of, correct? 35 to 42.
I would like to make a motion to approve the group of finishing trades proposals as presented, tabs number 35 through 42.
I would like to ask a couple of questions of a few of tab 38.
Sure, that would be Finishing Trades Institute of District Council 36, Joint Apprentice Training Trust Fund.
Yep, 40, which is the Southern California Plastering Institute Apprentice Trust, correct? 41, which is Tile, Marble, and Terrazzo Employees Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee Trust, and then 42 as well.
Okay, so I've indicated those. So if we could have the representative from FTI DC 36 come up. Sorry, Finishing Trades Institute of District Council 36 Joint Apprentice Training Trust Fund. There are some questions by panel. And please introduce name and title. Oh, yeah, deja vu.
Hi, David Bertle with the FTI of DC 36 Training Trust Fund. And with me is a consultant. Let him repeat that.
Okay, so you're going to find those that when I ask, most of these are going to be the same questions. So if you hear me say I want to speak, it's going to be pretty much the same. So I'm just looking at active contracts in play at the moment, and I'm looking and we see an active proposal in your contract that was awarded last year, and it's sitting at a very low % of active any data into CalE Force or training hours. And so when I look at our apprentice funding, we're looking at who we're giving. It always makes me nervous when we see no performance, no motion, no movement. Yes, you have good prior performance. Can you just give us a bit of an idea of what is happening as to why a year into a contract, we're seeing nothing into training hours or retention, et cetera, for us?
Happy to answer that question, Madam Chair. Thank you for that question. The fiscal year 22 contract, the prior contract was completed and invoiced at 100%.
We are currently waiting for fiscal to finish that, at which point we will then be uploading the training hours for fiscal year 23, the contract that you mentioned from last year. With that contract, we've already placed or finished training for 350 individuals, 40,368 training hours, which is 100% of the contract. Once the switch flips, we'll be uploading those training hours.
And we're not uploading ahead of time because we are 2 active contracts and you're doing 1 contract, finishing them out, and then putting them into the second contract. So year 1, year 2 of the program type thing, not different apprentices both ways.
That's correct, to make sure there's no double dipping or to make sure those apprentices.
Okay. And so can you help me understand the marketing costs? So everyone puts in the contracts that is marketing costs. As we look at these year on, as we're putting in, can you help me what you're using the marketing costs for? If you're using the same apprentices for each contract for like the 3 years or 4 years they're in the programs?
I can imagine it's probably related to recruiting the new apprentices for the new classes, but I'm not sure, David, if you have any.
It's not as much related to those apprentices who are active that we're funding. It's more for future apprenticeships.
Which continue to fund down the road.
In future programs. Okay. Thank
Madam
you.
Chair, if I may, I'm very well aware of the marketing costs that are being used to encourage apprenticeship programs to women specifically and also minorities as well. So they're taking those and kind of marketing the opportunities elsewhere beyond the current generation.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm good.
Are we ready for the next one?
Questions?
Thank you so much, gentlemen. The next project that we have some questions for. So if the representative from Southern California Plastering Institute Apprenticeship Trust could come to the podium, we would appreciate it. And please include your name and title. Sorry.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Steve Tasco, coordinator instructor, Southern California Plaster Institute.
Okay, so I think, again, unless anyone else has questions, I know I do. It's the same question. We look at performance, we're looking at current active versus prior, just kind of getting a good idea of where a year into a contract with 14%. It's my curiosity of making sure you guys are maxing at the same time as we're awarding new funds.
No problem. Totally respect your question, and I think it's important to ask. I would like to point out that this group was part of an umbrella, and so this is actually 23 is their first one. So based on 23, they're at 92%. They have worked on other ETPs, but again, they were under an umbrella.
So under an umbrella, tab 40, correct, we're looking at a 14.45% on your current active contract on the data I'm seeing in front of me. That's why I'm asking.
92. Website?
So what I'm just saying what I have in front of me on the active project of ET3 0901, you are currently sitting at 14.45 on tab 40.
Oh, sorry. That was my talk before that we've given you this update sheet. So the update sheet actually shows the current performance, which is 92.
On this actual contract. So I'm looking at stuff because I have data that was sent to me.
So I guess the discrepancy here is have these hours, Rebecca has information from that's pretty recent, as of, I believe, last night. So have those hours, Kelly, been uploaded to the CaliForce system? Because it appears to us as if they have not.
They have 92%. I can double check that, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's just what's showing in, I don't know. So my
currently.
concern is just that
So
same concern.
the other thing too, when Kelly is mentioning umbrellas, so the SoCal Plastering Trust, it seems, has come out of a larger project in which we will have an entity hold the contract for multiple apprenticeship programs. There could also be the same issue that was discussed earlier, in which there might not be an opportunity to enroll until that other contractor from whence they came has uploaded everything. So
that was the issue, but we were able to put 92 up. So I apologize that the breakdown in the system, but I can get that verified.
Okay, yeah, I just have the data that's in front of me that's different. So that's why I just wanted to talk about it. I think it's very good for everyone to understand how each of you are managing the programs and the funding, because some programs out here are doing fantastically, like they have an active contract, they're working against the hours, others aren't. We're just trying to be very transparent of how we're managing, especially with the apprenticeship work group work that's going to be done in the future.
Absolutely. I love the
Yeah.
question. You know, I like to think there are three ways that these programs get funded. The very large ones are underfunded, meaning that they could use a ton more money. And those are the ones you're always going to see at panel 100%, 100%, 100%, because they have 1,000 people and they just, you know, bring in the next.
We'll say we also have some that are fairly large sums with zero action in a year. So entered. So we see both ways, and that's really why we're just, you know, I have that curiosity of how we're utilizing funds and
absolutely
in that sense. So that's all.
Yeah, and the second group I would identify is the group that has been rightly funded, and we've worked with them really hard to come up with what exact numbers they need based on. Third group are that group that for whatever reason, COVID issues, job in their area wasn't able to happen.
Totally understand. I totally understand the funding fields. I think we're just trying to be fair and equitable to everyone as we look at how we arrange funding. We're looking at this, and we've seen it in other contracts that are not apprenticeship, where we're looking at percentage of funds as well and where they are in active contracts. We just want to make sure everyone's successful, and that's really what it is.
Absolutely. And the only one thing I would like to say is that apprenticeship numbers are pretty solid because apprenticeships are not like community colleges. They actually cannot bring people into their program unless the committee has said that's okay and they have jobs for them. So it's not the kind of school where you bring in 50 people and maybe you're going to place 20.
Yeah, I'm familiar with apprenticeship programs. It's more about making sure we're being very transparent about what is happening. And as we've done the apprenticeship work groups and people are focusing, I think it's good for the entire audience to understand what we're looking at in contracts. And some are doing, I'm going to tell you, some of you are doing fantastic jobs at being nearly out of a year's contract and being at 98% tracked a year out of a contract. So that's why we're just highlighting some of these things and having these questions to better understand also for apprenticeship work group work.
Absolutely. Thank
you.
Madam Chair, just real quickly, because we did ask that our folks verify what's currently in the system, and the Cali4 system currently reflects a 14.45% on performance. However, if there's a discrepancy how the information was entered, we can work with strategy to figure out where that disconnect is.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have tab 41, correct, Madam Chair? You want tab 41, right?
Yeah,
oh, sorry, I just wanted to verify.
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies.
That's okay.
So if the representative for Tile, Marble, and Terrazzo Employers, JTC, could come to the podium. Thank you so much, sir, and please introduce yourself to panel.
My name is Manuel Hurtado. I'm the head instructor for the training center, and unfortunately, Mark Blackledge wasn't able to make it. He's under the weather. So I'm limited on information, but I mean, I can try to answer any questions you have.
Yeah, no worries at all. It's this exact same question. We're looking at your current contract, ET 230911. You currently sit at, I have 20% on total earnings. I'm just curious how you're working towards to ensure a year later, when we come to close out, that you will be achieving 100%, because these are fierce funds.
I would just like to point out again, this nice man agreed to step in at the last minute due to an illness, but they have done traditionally very well. They're at 100%. Once those close out, then we'll be able to move them over to the 23.
I'm showing tracked of 100% of the 2022 contract that terms in 2020 in November of this year. So it's more about we're a year into another one. Where do we stand currently? That's my only question about making sure we're tracking.
So one of the things that happens is after we close an invoice out or a project out, we submit the invoices. Those invoices sometimes anywhere from 1 to 6 months to be. During that period, we cannot upload folks.
So you have the training already completed for the prior, but you're waiting until those others because you're enrolling
Yeah.
the same apprentices contract after contract, which is fine. That's all I need to know when I ask the question, because it helps us from the clarity as we're looking at these work group works and the education of how people are using funds.
Absolutely. I love what my colleague said. He said the flip switch or the switch flips. So
Yeah,
we're waiting
that's all
for
I
that
need to
flip
know.
to
When I ask the
switch.
question, that's all I need to know. It's the flip switch at this, because everyone is working differently with how they're managing. So it's just us to make sure we know that that's where it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm always looking at, under the section for the potential earnings, where the contractor projects the final earnings of the most recent one, and if there's a discrepancy from what they've previously done in prior years. And then if I see numbers that are different, then it's a red flag for me.
Yeah,
But if
I
they can
have-
project to 100%, and I understand the frustrations between the technology, the uploading, the closeout of the contracts, and then moving things forward, yeah.
And I think we just have 42.
Thank you, Gretchen. Okay. And then finally, for the finishing trades industry cluster, we have Northern California Tile Industry Apprenticeship and Training Trust Fund. If that representative could please come to the podium and introduce themselves.
Morning again, Mark Ansel, Training Director for Northern California Tile Industry.
My guess is, are we flipping the switch as well on this one? I'm just asking because we're at 22%. This is me just making sure I'm clear. So when we go into future ones and this work that we're going to do, we're just clear of how people are handling. So, you know, at 22% of current, we just like to see those progressions, and it's about timely reporting of prior contracts as well. I think flipping switch is great, as everyone is doing in many ways, but just making sure we're timely in that way.
I did have one follow-up question though, because under program completion rates, which as we discussed previously is not the correct title for this, what we're really talking about is growth of your apprenticeship program so that we can all collectively try to build up the apprenticeship programs. It says here that over the last 5 years, the number of apprentices, the growth has decreased by approximately 9.3%. So how are you going to progress forward in growing your apprenticeship and admitting more new apprentices?
Well, I typically do 2, 3, even 4 outreaches a month. And I travel in 46 counties. I'm, pushing and pushing to try to get more people to come in. Sometimes the work's not available. The retention is bad because I think that people think tile might be easy, and once they get in there, they don't want to stick around.
Do you have a pre-apprenticeship program so that people can get a taste of the construction career?
No, we do
Okay,
not.
that might be something that you look into for the future, not right now. You're not going to create one right now. But that might help fill that pipeline of interested applicants that have some quality experience in the construction field and then can seek admission into your apprenticeship
For
program.
sure, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you. Does anyone have any other questions? I'm good with mine. I think you're good, Gretchen, with that
I'm
one as well. Okay. Does anyone have any other questions on any of tabs? Let me just get to the right page before.
35 to 42.
There you go. See, you guys have got it on me. Any other questions on those?
I would like to second Rick's motion.
First approval is Rick, second. Do we have any public comment on those tabs? Public comment? Yep. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Barber. I used to be a training director for the IBEW in San Mateo County, and now I'm working with Strategy Workplace in regards to the ERICA grant, which you've already been introduced to by some of the training directors. I just want to speak a little bit on the ERICA grant and my side of it, which is the outreach and the DEI, or the diversity, equity, and inclusion portion of it. And a lot of these training directors will be receiving helpful hands in the recruitment and establishment of pre-apprenticeship programs, specifically focusing on women and other marginalized populations. So because of the ERICA grant, the outreach component is one side of it. The other side of it is the childcare issue. And that's also going to be helping these training directors with the recruitment because of childcare being a foremost barrier for a lot of people. So I just wanted to bring forward those comments because it may come up with the other JATCs to have them explain what they're doing individually, but also collectively. They will be receiving this over the course of 2 years. And hopefully it's going to be very successful. That's our goal. We have the money and we're going to spend every dime of it on getting more people into programs and also to help with pre-apprenticeship. Correctly pointed out that pre-apprenticeship, the MC3 program should introduce people to these trades to help bring them into something that will be a retentive lifelong career. So I thank you for this moment to let me make that statement.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask one thing. As we look at proposals, and this is more of a general audit, as we look at proposals, the public comment on this section is of those proposals, not of general public comment. We're open for general public comment across all after we've gone through all the proposals. So if there's any questions specific to or comments specific to those we just reviewed, just to keep it clean for the record and that side of it. Correct, Mike? Just checking. He keeps me as doesn't checks. It's all right. And I appreciate what was said. So I heard a motion, I heard a second. So I'm going to ask, is all those in favor to say aye? Aye. And all those in favor, all those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. Thank you, Heather.
Fantastic. Thank you. So the next industry is the electrical industry. So
And
if
at this
anyone-
point, I would like to recuse myself from tabs 14 through 31. Somebody come find me.
All right. So we will proceed with the electrical industry cluster. This encompasses 18 proposals, and as Gretchen so graciously pointed out, would be tabs 14 through 31 for approximately $5,438,147 in funding. These apprentices and journey workers include occupations such as inside wireman electrician, sound installer, transportation, telecommunications, and sound technicians. I do want to make one clarification on tab number 19 for San Diego Electrical Training Trust. Some of the program growth information was missing from the proposal and is as follows. The total number of new apprentices projected to serve this year is 623. And since 2018, the program has served 791 new apprentices. The growth percentage in the last 5 years for that project is approximately 20%. And with that, I will hand it over to the panel members for any questions on these projects that they may have.
So I'm going to ask if anyone has any best practices first around how they're recruiting. If they would like to come up, Mike has got the timer. You have 90 seconds, and then we will talk about any of the ones we have questions.
Yes, good morning. Hello, everybody. Los Angeles County Electrical Educational and Training Trust Fund. My name is Anthea Jamarcos. We're Los Angeles Local 11 IBW, and we do a bunch for the women. I am also the chair of our women's group. It's a mentorship program called Empower, stands for ETI. That's our training trust, DBA. ETI mentorship program offering women extra resources. And that's been in a program for over 20 years. I've been chairing it since March 22. I grew the group from 3 to 5 monthly membership attendees to 50 plus. And I have the business manager's blessing. His goal is to increase the apprenticeship of women to 10%. We're currently between 4.5 to 5%. And so basically I have free reign to spend, LMCC helps with this, the Electrical Training Institute, which is the owner of Empower, also helps with funding for free dinners. I do outreach, others do outreach as well, specifically to women. We are in partnership with Winter. Yeah, we do everything. Also, another thing that we do is VEEP, which is Veterans Entry Electrical Program. And we have the international largest groups for that. We've just increased, that's trying to bring in veterans who have over 4 to 5 years of experience in the military to come into a pre-apprenticeship program where they have basically almost guaranteed entry into the program. into the, as a first-year apprentice, or even some training trusts take them in as second-year apprentices. And we have four cohorts, which is the most. Each cohort has been 20 max. Now we're increasing that to 25 max. So sorry if I've exceeded my time, but yeah, we try.
Excellent time, but it sounds like an awful lot of really good stuff going on and focus. Fantastic.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the panel. My name is Chris Tillery. I'm the training director at the Sacramento Area Electrical Workers, JATC. I am, very proud of the outreach that we do to women, minorities, underserved populations. This year, so far, we're on track for 27 different outreach opportunities that ranges from career fairs to presentations for workforce development groups, such as People Working Together, MC3 programs with them, Grid Alternatives, YOLO Works, Sacramento Regional Conservation Corps. We just recently started working with St. John's Women's Shelter Center for Change. Actually, just this year, hired the president of our women's committee for the union as our third-year instructor. So she's been great for our efforts, going to a lot of these outreach events as well. When she's not available, frequently another best practice I do is take one of her women's group members, an apprentice or a journeywoman, and ask them to come to the career fair and pay them lost wages, buy them lunch for the day, and they come and help man the career fair booth. So that's pretty effective. And that third-year instructor, Aaron Gibbons, will actually start going and talking to the St. John's groups there, the women in those groups. And then also on top of that, we're participating in the ERICA grant as well. We've already sent over a batch of women interested in that, and we're now opening it up to minorities, veterans, and non-binary apprentices.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
The face is the face. That's the most important part.
Yeah.
You're taking them out. Fantastic.
Exactly. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Kevin Johnson, I'm the training director for the San Diego Electrical Training Trust, also the ETI. As mentioned, we've had a lot of growth, but we went from 573 over a couple of years to 704, so 15 to 20% growth over 3%. And we do see 64% self-identify in the minority group. So we're a majority minority, and we celebrate that diversity and how we're continuing to grow that diversity. And the female population, we have 2 registered pre-apprenticeships. So we have one through our San Diego Workforce Partnership called the CCJ, Construction Career Jumpstart. And we've seen the last 3 cohorts, 40% female. So they're taking that introduction and going into entry-level jobs and applying for apprenticeships. So it's about the introduction to the trade. Instead of making them sign a 5-year contract that they're going to do this, let them go find out if they want to. So we're really excited. We've done 17 cohorts. Over 300 people have completed that pre-apprenticeship, 94% employment rate out of that pre-apprenticeship. And we've seen 56 indentured into apprenticeship. And we're excited about the success of that pre-apprenticeship. Also, we run a VEEP program, the Veteran Electrical Entry Program. We're starting that second cohort on Monday. We're going to have 19 veterans complete a 7-week pre-apprenticeship. And upon completion, they get direct entry into apprenticeship anywhere in the United States they want to go. They can go back home and receive direct entry. We completed our first cohort of 9 last year. We kept 2 of them that wanted to stay in San Diego. The other 7 went to worse weather. So we're excited to run a second cohort of VEEP. We currently have 99 veterans in our program, so we're really excited to continue to serve veterans. They deserve this opportunity as much as anybody. We're always excited to do that. Last thing, outreach, we've done over 84 events in the last year, job fairs, facility tours, engaged over 1,600 college, high school, and middle school students. Thank you.
Fantastic. Love the high school pieces. Thank you. All right, I'm going to ask if anyone, actually, do you want a motion? I've got some I want to pull. Do you want to do the motion and then I can tell you which ones I want to pull? I don't know if anyone else has any questions, but you know me.
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to approve the electrical trades proposals, tabs number 14 through 31 after
I've done mine. So do you want me just to call out the ones I want to do and then each one? Or you wanna
However
call
you
each
want to
one
do it,
individually?
Madam Chair, I can indicate the tabs and request that they come forward.
So maybe we just start with tab 14 is the one that I have.
Okay.
Yeah, 14 is probably the easiest.
So if the representative from Orange County Electrical Joint Apprenticeship and Training Trust could please come forward, we would appreciate it.
Hello, Madam Chair. My name is Jerry Thomas from Orange County Electricians. I'm
Fantastic.
the
So
training director.
questions are going to be exactly the same as we look at, and it could be we flip the switch, but I'm looking at performance. But I have a more curiosity. So we have an active contract that is your most recent that was awarded last October. No, term start was October 2020. Yeah, last October. Sitting at 33.71% currently. So I'm guessing it's not quite as simple as flip the switch here because you're halfway through a year, you've got progress. I just want to make sure that yes, 37 is all right, but it'd be nice to be 50. So I'm just wanting to better understand how you're doing it, if it's just a flip the switch or you're enrolling them differently.
It's a flip the switch. You know, we can always at least get 15% because we have those second years that will be new to the program. But the rest are always, not always, but most of the time in the smaller JATCs, I'm sorry, will be stuck in the previous contract and it's a flip the switch.
But the current contract, you have two contracts. You have the one that was ET 0936 that is showing at 108%. So what I'm asking is that was started in January. So is it because we then are saying the next set are enrolled different? It's just different than somewhere I'm seeing a third of the way through the contract. Is the flip the switch always that, or is there other ways that you're managing them? Are they sometimes other apprentices coming in? It's okay if it is.
Oh, you know, there's a lot of, these are such great questions. Thank you for asking them. There are a lot of variables. Sometimes it depends on, you know, when that invoice gets paid. So if it sits in Sacramento for 3 or 4 months, we cannot flip the switch. And, you know, we appreciate and we really are respectful of the fact that we want ETP's fiscal unit to take their time and do a fabulous job so that we don't get in any future trouble. So we're not complaining. We're just saying that's the situation. So you'll have one invoice that might take a month. You'll have another invoice that could take 4 months.
And they take time, I know, for various different reasons. So I know sometimes information coming in is not accurate as well. So I'm just going to hark on the accuracy of information because it makes these conversations much easier to say, yes, the turnaround was because it was sitting in staff's hands. I'm not going to say it was sitting in staff's hands because I don't know the complete ins and outs, but sometimes it's because missing information holds up. And yes, the invoice was put in August and for example, and it's still not processed, could be because we're going back and forth on information that's missing or incorrect.
Absolutely.
And we can always say, okay, we can look at this and we can look at performance on that. But when I look at this, 33%, we're halfway through a contract. It just makes us a slight bit nervous from a funding perspective. That's all.
Absolutely.
We know we'll probably succeed. We're just saying it's nice to see performance.
And just to let you know, we have a separate database running at all times that keeps all their data in it.
But
so
it's
that when
not
it gets
just,
paid-
I'm going to say something and I may be out of line here. It's not just with the contractor. It is also with the JATC and with ETP, because really the contract is between ETP and the JATC. It is not with the contractor. The contractor may have a relationship with the JATC and has a relationship with ETP, but the people that are responsible for ensuring completion of their contracts is the JATC in partnership with ETP, because they are the ones who can tell you where you stand and those pieces. And I feel that that's a really, really important statement here, because actually I'm getting voice of contractor, not of apprenticeship program. And for me, it's important to hear from the programs because you are the guys managing it day in, day out. And I just feel that's very important in that sense.
There have been no classes that haven't been run.
No,
Yeah.
no.
No, I'm just asking, like, where do we run? How are we running it? Just to kind of really get that good grounding as we look at active contracts. I'm asking this, and staff will now, and these guys will say the same. I ask it of a MEC contract with a community college before we give them a second contract. They can have 2 contracts active at the same time. If they're less than 50%, I'm asking that question of them as well. Because I think it's really important. It's an important fund of money, and we should be being the most intelligent with it as we go forward. My only question was just like, no, from there. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
I had 15, Heather.
Yes, so if we could have the representative from Sacramento Area Electrical Workers Joint Apprenticeship and Training Trust.
Afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Chris Tillery, Training Director, Sacramento Electrical Workers, JTC.
You're probably going to know what my question is in your active contracts. So just better understanding, we're at 12% of an active contract a year in. So just how are we managing, making sure we're on track to complete at 100% in a year's time? That's my.
So all of your classes are currently holding. There have been no decreases in classes. We're waiting for the flip to switch.
So we're waiting to flick the switch from your last contract that is at 110% already, with 3 invoices in. So I would have to pull another report to look at fiscal. Are they in final currently? How many do you know?
We're checking on that right now, Madam
Okay.
Chair, and we'll let you know.
Yeah, I think to me, it can be in final, it can be in P1, it can be in P2. It's just being proactive and being able to answer that. That's all. Thank you.
And I would say the old system, we really loved. The old system, once we put the invoice in, we were allowed to enroll the next day, but we understand completely why ETP has stopped that and support it.
I'm also going to say we used to be stricter about accuracy of data and funding if data wasn't accurate coming in. So I don't want to play this back and forth of he say, she say, but I do know, and I have heard, and I've been a previous ETP contractor, so we still have contracts. There used to be a time where you had to be 100% accurate on the data that was coming in to get your invoicing. Sometimes invoices are held up because data isn't accurate or data is missing. In the old days, you had 90 days and then it was closed. So I would say we have to be very open about this. And as we go down apprenticeship funding, as we go down committee, if things have to go to policy committee, we can look at that. But I just want to be fair on both sides. We have sometimes what swayed away on different regulations, legislations in the past, become relaxed in some things, not just in this piece. So I just want to make sure we're being fair on both sides in that way. Thank you. We had 17, which is the Inland Training Fund, correct?
The NICA IBEW Inland Training Fund.
John Rowe, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, Electrical Training Director.
So I think my question is again, we're at 26% a year into a contract. Are we in a flick the switch situation and waiting on others? Or are we in a different situation on being 26% in on an active contract? Okay, so it's a flip the switch. I think that's just, you're going to see this. I'm going to ask it of everyone that's under 50% of any contracts out here, because I just am curious. So we know going forward in that way. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had 21, yeah.
If we could please have Alameda County Electrical Industry Apprenticeship and Training Trust.
Yes. Good afternoon, Madam Chair. My name is Jason Bates. I'm the Training Director from Alameda County.
Fantastic. Thank you. So you are sitting currently in an active one at 33.46%. It's getting closer to 50. How are we working to ensure we're keeping on top of that percentage to make sure we will close out?
Before I let Kelly take over, I'll just say that
I want to
all of
hear
our
from you guys
classes-
more than I want to hear from Kelly. She's managing your contract, but the contract is between yourselves and ETP. So I much prefer hearing from those managing it because it's more important to me that way. No offense, Kelly.
all of our classes are ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
We've had an increase in hiring over the past few years. There's no downturn with us. And since 2017, we fully funded we fully hit our contract numbers at 97%, 94%, 98%, and 99%. So while we're a little bit behind now, I'm fully confident we'll hit those numbers of what we proposed.
Fantastic. I just feel nervous when I see it, and we moved it to being an annual year that we're looking at around academic years, and people aren't 100%. So I love the fact that you've got people in there and they're moving. It's just keeping it updating Cali Force at the same time. Thank you. 25.
Okay, so if we could please have San Francisco Electrical Industry Apprenticeship and Training Trust. Tab 25.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and the ETP panel. My name is Pete Cherson. I'm the training director for the SF Joint Apprenticeship Training Trust.
So I'm looking back at these. You have two active contracts. One is tracking currently at 84% completion. The other is currently at 13.83%. Can you help me understand how you're going to get those both over the hurdle? Are they both concurrent enrollments or are they individual enrollments?
It will be a flip the switch, but I would also like to point out that
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because you actually have two active that are both not coming up to 100% or 50%. So I'm looking at this going, we still have 12, 16% to go and only a couple of months left. But yet we're tracking others. So this conversation about it's just to flick the switch doesn't necessarily, because you've got some you're flicking the switch by the sounds of it who've closed out and others who are not, correct? That's why, because you've got two active. That's why I want to help.
So yes, and all our classes are ongoing. San Francisco, I'm sure, as you heard, has had some rough times in terms of construction trades working. That is a huge problem for us right now. We have not actually had a first year class in 3 years. It's been that slow. So, with the 32% vacancy rate in the high rises downtown, which is actually more like 50% with the 20% of the people who are still paying on their leases. It's been an owie.
Totally. I am totally.
But otherwise, we are moving forward with all the classes that are in.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Knowing that it's tracking is good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Madam Chair, if I may, on tab 25, they did right size their request as compared to some of the performance as well, to Kelly's point. So I did want to point that out for you.
And if I could just clarify, flipping the switch can mean different things. So it's not just
and that's why I'm asking the question to better understand. So as we go down this big piece of apprenticeship work group work that is going to happen this year, that everyone is aware. So whoever gets pulled into it has this awareness, even within the apprenticeship community, because I think it's important for all. These funds are very much fought and everyone's handling them differently, which is fine. But allowing everyone to have that understanding is really important to us all.
Yeah, and this year we did have an anomaly. We had those 60, 70 plus revisions that we put in, and during that period, no invoicing was allowed. Slowed down the train.
Yep, there's different things that slow down the train every time, and often on, I'm going to say both sides, because we all are guilty of slowing the train in our different ways. So yeah.
And are you wanting to also pull 26?
Yes, it's the same question.
Okay, so if Redwood Empire Electrical Joint Apprenticeship Trust could please come forward to the podium.
Good afternoon, panel members. My name is Rob Barcy. I'm the training director of the Redwood Empire Electrical Training Center. We're located in Santa Rosa, California.
So mine's are very slightly different. You have one active contract, there's no others, and you are currently tracking at 14% a year in. Can you help us a year in, can you help us understand that better?
I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's the same issue with the rest of the JATCs as far as the turning in the hours, but we have maintained solid employment for all 86 of our apprentices over the past year. We did have a little bit of a slowdown at the tail end of COVID. We worked right through COVID. So historically, I believe we've hit our goals. So I'm just going to, being that I'm not the one that's sending invoices, and I'm going to.
You're not sending the invoices or working. No, and I think it may be you actually have closed out others. You're just sitting at one active at that percent. So you've closed out your prior ones. That's where it's different in the question because of the fact you closed out your prior. You're now just sitting at 14%. In that way.
We would also like you to notice we've right-sized it for the next round. So we
For the
are-
right sizing, so also everyone got exactly what they asked for. Heather said this earlier on, Willie did, that everything that came in, the calculations they did, anyone coming to panel today got exactly what they asked for. So yes, things were right sized, but it was what came in on that right size.
Yes, so previous context, 348, 208, and this time we put it in for 157. We're very aware of wanting the next round to be very good.
Yeah, we just want people to be successful, that's all. Thank you.
And thank you, you guys, with this funding, help our apprentices to be successful.
Alrighty, the last one on that is 30, I think.
If we could have, we will be asking tab 30, Napa Solano County's Electrical Industry Apprenticeship and Training Trust Fund.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. I'm Jack Paulson. I'm the training director for the Solano Napa JATC.
So you're in a slightly different situation, and I asked this because I see in my data your contract awarded in November of 2021 is currently sitting at 60.93%, and your current one awarded last year is sitting at 12.54%. So can you help us better understand? You've got one closing out at the end of this next month, and we're currently at 61%. So I just want to make sure we're clear that, hey, we're 61%, we've got 2 or 3 months left, and then that final one as well.
Absolutely. I would just like to point out that this is a very small JATC. So when we're using percentages, we could be talking about 3 people. That like, take somebody from a 70% over to 50%.
Yeah.
But we will be able to close out the 22 at the previously mandated 70%. And then we are working at 23 to close it out higher than that. And then we also have right sized the 24.
Yeah, it just makes me nervous when we have a couple of open at those percentages and we're awarding another. I don't know if everyone's feeling the same as me. Rick's looking at me like she's having a moment. But to me, it just makes me a bit nervous when we're awarding a third contract. We have 2 open and both are tracking at 61% and 12.5%. We're about to award another. It's nice to see when we're getting closer. That's all.
Yeah. But again, I would point out that 66 is 60.
Every contract is different. We measure by percentage. It doesn't matter about the number. We always look at percentage on performance. So if you have 2,000 people in a contract and you only get a 75%, you're going to be right sized and you're going to look a lower performance sometimes. The numbers, that's why we go by percent. We don't go by apprentice number. We just want to make sure people cap out at 100% of the contract.
Respectfully, though, with a small contract, 3 people can change that percentage in a way that when you have 1,000 cannot.
Yeah, just effects. Thank you.
Just please keep in mind that sometimes those 3 people give me more gray hair. So.
Absolutely. Sometimes they do. Tell me about it. I sometimes have that, so it's the same. Sometimes that smaller group keep me busier than that larger group. So
thank you. I appreciate all of your time.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so that's my questions, if any. I don't have any concerns. Anyone else have any questions of those tabs 14 to 31? Any public comment on those tabs 14 to 31? Do I hear a motion from anyone?
Yeah.
I was going to say, Rick, can anyone hear you?
Sorry about that.
No, he's gone quiet. It's coming to that time of day.
Let me repeat that. I would like to make the motion to approve the group of electrical trades proposal tabs number 14 through 31.
Do I hear a second? Thank you. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Yeah,
and I
we'll
think we've
wait
got
just a
someone
moment
leaving
to
as well.
bring Gretchen back.
I think Rick's out. That's why his microphone was off, isn't it? Oh, yeah. Rick.
State your recusal. I would like to recuse myself for the next proposals.
All right, panel members, next we have the laborer industry. This encompasses 3 proposals under tabs 32 through 34 for approximately $1,193,532 in funding. These apprentices and journey workers include occupations such as construction craft laborer, landscape and irrigation fitters, parking and highway improvement laborers, and tunnel laborers. Included in this group are the pavement stripers and highway maintenance apprenticeship and training trust for Southern California, who is a first-time applicant with ETP. And with that, I'll open it up for any questions by the panel members.
So I think the first question is, does anyone want to come and talk about best practice? It's okay if you don't. You have 90 seconds each if you do. I'm not trying to say don't. I'm just asking, does anyone, because Gretchen missed all the last ones, but she might have been familiar with some of those. Okay, so does anyone have any that they have questions on of the coming packets? I do have 32.
You want to hear from item 32?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Might as well
Excuse
have it in
me.
my voice.
If Laborers Training and Retraining Trust for Southern California could please come to the podium.
Morning, Madam Chair and panel.
Okay.
My name is Leon Ledoux from the Labor Training and Retraining Trust for Southern California, and I'm representing.
All right, so it goes to that exact same one. We are near to a year of closing out a contract, and we're sitting at 43% of potential earnings based on those tracked hours on ET 220923. Can you give me an idea of, are we looking to be on track to close as we've come to the end of this contract and we're only sitting at like 44%? So I would like to hear from the program more so than the contractors, because it should be the program, because that's who holds the contract.
Just to let you know that the director, our friend Leon, is not the director. He's coming in very nicely for the director. So there might be questions he can't answer.
Okay, I just wanted, like, on that performance, it's my only question currently.
But what I understand is that we are on track to nail 100% as we have increasing class sizes and we haven't shut anything down. So I think we're on track.
Okay, it's just because your next year's one is at 71%. So I just want to make sure you are closing out at 100%, because your next one's at 77%. So it feels a bit weird if it's not just a flip the switch.
That is a great question. This is an example of a JATC that has underfunding, meaning that they have how many apprentices in your program?
I think we have over 2,439 active.
Okay.
A very different situation. So when you have the underfunded projects, that's the ones that you can see build out before the second, third one come in. In this case, we're waiting for invoicing to occur with the fiscal department.
It doesn't help me clarify why your contract that ends in 2024 term is at 77% and your one in termed just the other day is only at 44%, except for if data's not being submitted in a timely fashion.
That is not.
There's no finals. So we have no finals for that one that has just completed.
Sorry, Madam Chair, for ET 220923, there is no final invoice on that.
And there's no final on, and it just termed on 10/3/2023, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So that's just my piece. Is like, we're looking at that end and we are, the next contract, we're at 71% tracked. So it just feels a bit of a weird management of that contract and those funds.
Well, I would just like to point out our number one thing is to keep our clients safe and make sure every penny they get, they earn. And so we are not going to submit something till we're absolutely sure. And we wait for the flip to be switched and then we submit when we can, but we would never ever submit something without 100%.
I just look at like where those years are. I would have hoped your one that is terming is like at 100 and the one that terms in a year's time is more at 40%. So those percentages seem the wrong way around for contracts and term dates. That's all.
Okay.
So when you look at that management, it's not a flip the switch, because of that.
So the 44 is
at one
further.
point it was a flip the switch. ET 21s were slow to close out.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Thinking about the future,
yes.
let's try to expedite the flipping of the switch, the closing of the contracts, the recording of the different hours more consistently rather than kind of, if there's any delays on either portion of it, either party, let's address that for next year so that we don't have this kind of optics issue of like, are you going to be successful? And I'm basing my judgment off of prior years' success, and I see a lot of 100% in there. So I'm used to being assured, like, yes, we're going to reach the 100%, and I'm feeling really good about that. But we do have, new leadership on that, and this is a rightful question and a consideration.
Absolutely.
So we require our apprentices to do their homework to be successful. We're going to do our homework on this part, and you're going to do your homework, and we're all going to move forward together.
Absolutely. And I would just like to say last year, it was a similar situation. Nothing has changed because the ETP situation of how they handle invoicing is similar. And so we will work really hard with ETP staff to figure out ways to meet what you're asking, Gretchen, because we want it more than anybody, right?
Yes.
That would
exactly.
be
It goes
absolutely
yeah.
wonderful. We
And
would
I
love
think
to
it
get
goes
our folks
both
paid
ways.
It goes both
between
ways.
Contractor and, well, it goes both ways between contract holder and ETP.
Absolutely.
The contractor is the third party that is helping.
Yes.
So as those problems occur, ETP is going to go to the contract holder and say, hey, if I own a contract, it is my responsibility to be at 100%. For future funding. If you don't get 100%, we're going to look at that. And I think that's the important messaging we're saying is being proactive in your reporting, in those numbers when you're in lower percentages. And like here, I've got 3 active contracts, actually one's just termed. And none of them are at 100%. And we're about to hand a 4th contract over. That's
yes. So I share the concerns, and maybe this can be a topic for discussion at a policy committee where we can do some
Absolutely.
strategizing and some brainstorming on how to proceed forward together.
That would be fabulous. This is a problem
and
that
across
has been
all
going on
programs.
and on. and
Across
we'd
all
love it to
programs.
stop.
not just apprenticeship, it's across all. Yeah.
We're going to look to you. Yeah, we're going to look to everyone. Okay.
Madam Chair, just if I may, real quickly, the employment training panel and all of our staff are more than happy to work with all the contractors to make sure that invoicing is done correctly, timely, and that they are processed as timely as possible as long as we have accurate information. We are more than happy to work with any of our contractors.
Fantastic.
I 100% agree, but there's a queue. And so.
Absolutely, but
even if you.
what I
have
see,
everything
so
perfect.
we're not going into the policy of how everything goes through. I am just highlighting we're handing over active contracts. There are active contracts going. I want to make sure people are achieving to be able to be comfortable to say, here's the next step. That's all that I'm asking, and asking people to be proactive. So when we're going with true optics, because this is a competitive amount of money that's going to everyone. And as apprenticeship grows in the state, we're seeing growth and competitiveness around all the different funding that's available for apprenticeship, not just ETP, but all the others, both in traditional trades and non-traditional trades. And at some point, non-traditional trades will probably be knocking on the door for this money as well. I'm just going to say it because it's going to happen at some point as that apprenticeship grows. And so I just want to make sure we're being fair and consistent, and that optics, if someone's looking at it, may not look great for some at the moment, if they're not familiar. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I make a motion?
You may. I don't have any, unless anyone else has questions of any of those.
Okay, motion to approve tabs 32 through 34 under the laborers industry.
Do I hear a second? Is there any public comment on these? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
All righty. The bricklayers are next, and we will bring Rick back.
Yeah, he's gone, don't we? It's getting that time of day.
All righty. The bricklayers industry is next. There are 2 project tabs 43 and 44 for approximately $408,234 in funding. These apprentices and journey workers include occupations such as bricklayers, brick masons, marble finishers, marble masons, pointer cleaner caulkers, terrazzo finishers, and terrazzo mechanics. And I will open it up for questions.
Okay, so I don't know if they have any best practices they want to share. Okay, if we don't, have we got one coming? Alrighty, best practices.
Good afternoon. Josh Height, coordinator with the Bricklayers and Allied Crafts Apprenticeship Program, Northern California. We're currently working with outreach in all women cohorts, participating in the MC3s, some of the Valley Build cohorts down in Fresno. We're actively participating with Rising Sun in Oakland, and they're all women cohorts along with Tradeswomen Inc. We also have a pre-apprenticeship program that we're encouraging female applicants to come in and get a taste of the hands-on aspect of the brick trade.
I don't know if anyone has any questions on either of them. I just have again, a very quick, because we're looking at that same optics on
43.
Tab 43. I think it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Just run back up. I should have said, because I thought it was tab 43, but I was just checking.
So just for the record, tab 43 is Bricklayers and Allied Crafts Local Number 3 Apprentice Training Trust.
So we have several, obviously, prior performances that are good. I'm just looking and seeing you have your awardee of last year is way over 100%, one that closed out just recently is over 100%. It's just this current one where you're looking at 20, the other one we're over 100%. Just wondering how we're doing and how we're tracking to be proactive to make sure we meet 100% for next year.
Yes, I believe we've delivered on those hours. I think 11,000 plus delivered for that contract. This is funded at, I believe, 12% right now. And I would guess that's a flip to switch issue with the processing of the invoice.
Okay. All right. So this may come to committee in the ultimate. Thank you. All righty. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve tabs 43 and 44 under the bricklayers industry.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comment on these proposals? So all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
All right, we will be moving into the sheet metal and HVAC industry. There are 5 projects. Excuse me, sorry.
I apologize. I need to recuse myself from these.
Thank you, Doug. Okay, there are 5 projects in this cluster, tabs 45 through 51, for approximately $2,272,462 in funding. This includes occupations such as sheet metal workers, HVAC workers, air conditioning mechanics, and test/adjust and balance technicians. I would like to note on tab 45 for sheet metal workers joint apprenticeship and training trust fund of Los Angeles, there was a typo on page 2 of the proposal. The current wage range by occupation table, the estimated number of trainees should be 609 and not 9. And the correct number is accurately reflected in the training plan table above. And now I will open it up for any questions from panel members.
Does anyone have any? I just have my same comment on a couple of them. It's just looking at I'm not going to call every single one out. It's just looking at where you sit on your current contracts and being proactive in timing in getting them in when we're a year out. There's a couple sitting in the 30-something%. I think we're making the clear point, having gone through some, but sitting in the 30-something%, and we'd just like to see it a bit higher on the current actives.
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you.
Okay, motion to approve tabs 45 through 51 under the sheet metal industry.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any comment from the public? All those in favor say aye.
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 All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
The next project is for a lead entity, so I would offer if anyone needs to recuse.
This is the state building trades
Correct.
that are training union electricians?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Out you go.
I'm recusing myself.
Okay, panel members, next we have State Building and Construction Trades Council of California, the only project in this cluster under tab 52. They are requesting $499,920 in funding to train electricians, plasterers, plaster tenders, plumbers and seam fitters, roofers and sheet metal workers. One update, this project does include training for pre-apprentices. And I will open it up to the panel for any questions. With one correction, my handwritten note, Tri-County's Electrical, Local 234 will be participating. I think that might have been an inadvertent omission from the narrative in the proposal. And I will open it up for questions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions on this one? No? Okay. Do I have a motion? It's just the one, correct? Waking them all up down there, I think. Or down this end. Chris is like, hang on, have I got to make... Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Okay, panel members, now we have the plumbing and pipe fitting industry. This cluster has 11 projects from tabs 53 to 63 for approximately $4,367,044 in funding. These projects will train plumbers, seam fitters, pipe fitters, refinery pipe fitter, and refrigeration workers. The following projects are first-time applicants with ETP. Tab number 57, Southern California Pipe Trades District Council 16. Tab 58, United Association Plumbers Local 78, as well as tab 61, UA Local 447 Joint Apprentice Training Center. And with that, I will open it up to the panel members for any questions they may have for this industry cluster.
So I think my first is, does anyone have best practice in this group around their recruitment and that side of it?
Does not include UA Local 38, correct? San Francisco. I will just share their own best practice while they're not here. This is an image of one of their female members that has been posted up at the Giants Stadium in every single women's bathroom that states saluting the tradeswomen of UA Local 38, plumbers, pipe fitters, HVAC technicians, San Francisco, Marin, Sonoma, Mendocino, and Lake counties. If you're interested in a career with us, contact us now. I love this.
They've had that for
Go
several
Sports.
years. They've had it for
Yes.
several years. I remember seeing one with someone before.
Envision that at all stadiums.
Yeah, wouldn't it be amazing? Okay, I'm just asking if anyone has questions on any of the proposals in that packet. I do have one. I'm in that. So I do have on tab 55, Local 246, Pipe Trades District Council number 36, Journeyman and Apprenticeship Training Trust Fund.
If the representative for Local 246 could come forward, please.
Afternoon, Madam Chair and panel. Robert Topeta here, Training Director for Local 246 JETC.
So I see your prior projects are great. They're all out at 100%. You don't have it. You have one current active contract. And so I can't say it's flipping the switch here because every single one of the others expired 9/7/2022. This next one came in on 10/1/2022. We are currently sitting on active data at 2.95% of usage. Can you help us better understand how you're tracking to ensure you meet a successful completion in a year's time?
Yeah, we're doing continuing education. That hasn't stopped. Most of our apprentices are and have been working the last couple of years. I'm thinking it's just a matter of inputting the information to get us up to where we need to be.
Yeah,
if I'm
so I
not
think it's
mistaken.
again going back to timely data entry and getting that data in, getting your P1 invoices in, your P2 invoices. Remember, you don't have to wait till the end of the contract to invoice. I think that's the big messaging coming through. There are different contract periods you can invoice, and it looks good on all optics for us to see training moving forward.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Motion
have-
to approve tabs 53 through 63 for the plumbing and pipe fitting industry.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comments on those? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
All right, our next industry cluster is iron steel workers with 2 projects under tabs 64 and 65 for approximately $998,871 in funding. The occupations to be trained under these 2 projects are iron workers, and I am opening it up to the panel for any questions.
So I'm going to ask the iron workers if there's anyone with best practice that they would like to share. I know it's getting to the end of the day and everyone's getting hungry.
I hope you're going to talk
It's
about the
okay. You
maternity
are
care.
welcome to.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Yeah, we're about 65% minority. We are the first trade that offered the maternity leave for women.
All right, the party's happening outside.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah.
All right, they're celebrating.
Hey, but I'm happy that you saved the best for last.
Absolutely.
I'm Jason. I'm
Sounds
Jason.
like there's good stuff going.
I'm Jason Rafter. I'm the training director for the Ironworkers, and thank you for having me here. So, like I said, we're about 65% minority throughout the state of California. We are the first trade that offered maternity leave for the women that are in our trade. We've ran probably 10 to 12 different cohorts that were strictly for females that to get into the Ironworkers Apprenticeship Program. Like some of the other trades, I just took over about 2 years ago for Exampa, and I recently got us registered with a pre-apprenticeship program, and am looking forward to actually getting those females into a registered pre-apprenticeship program so that they have a better opportunity of getting into the apprenticeship program. We also work with Tradeswomen Inc., CTWI, multiple LEAs throughout the state of California, Winter. We just started with this new entity called Viper, which is for veterans also. So hoping to get some pre-apprenticeship programs going across the state for those individuals too. So with that, I'll open it up for questions or.
Just wanted to add, your maternity program isn't just wonderful that you're the first trade to adopt that and offering 6 months of paid maternity care and coverage, but you're also the best in the nation. Nobody else offers 6 months of paid maternity care. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
thank you for that.
That's fantastic. Thank you. Any questions? I did want to say on the couple in this packet for the ironworkers, they are on top of their game with their data entry, and they've got programs that are contracts that are expiring next year, nearly at 100% in every one of their packets. So I applaud you, ironworkers, because you guys are on top of it.
Well,
So what I like to see is we're about to hand another set, but that's just me. I look at it, I'm like,
Let's double down. Let's
There's
double
no
down.
one
Double
under.
down.
You're like, give me the money because we're paying 6 months of maternity. But we really appreciate that, like 100% nearly, or 90 something percent on all contracts with ironworkers in this panel packet proposal are all sitting at 90 something percent. So it's amazing.
Yeah, we've got a great crew. Thank you.
Okay, so any questions or comments to the panel for any of the ironworker proposals?
Motion to approve tab 64 and 65 for the iron steel workers or iron workers industry.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay, so next we have the operating engineers. This is only one project under tab 66 for the Joint Apprenticeship Committee for Operating Engineers, 46 northern counties in California, for a total of $499,786 in funding. They will be training construction equipment operators, heavy duty repairs, mobile, vertical, horizontal machine operators, crane operators, plant operators, grade technician, and construction lube technicians. And with that, I will open it up for any questions from panel.
Any of the panel have any questions on this one? Alrighty. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve Joint Apprenticeship Committee for Operating Engineers 46 in Northern counties of California, tab 66.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Next, we have the surveyor and inspector industry.
Tab 68.
Excuse me. Yeah, sorry.
67, sorry.
Yes.
Oh, jumping ahead.
My notes have gotten away from me. Excuse me. Surveyors and inspectors industry with one project on tab 67 for the operating engineers and Northern California surveyors pre-apprenticeship, apprentice, and journeyman affirmative action training fund for $499,960 to train construction inspectors and surveyors. And I will open it up for questions.
Does anyone have questions? I have one, but it's to do with your performance. So
I was going to ask if they have best practices too.
Oh, you can ask best
admitting
practices as
women
well.
into-
We can ask
and
both.
people of color.
Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and panel. So I'm going to try to answer the contract first. Oh, sorry, I'm Lois Blackwell, the administrator of the program. Okay, so the contract first. So from what I understand is that with the 22, we have met 100% and we're waiting to quote unquote flip the switch for the 23 contract, at which point we'll be at about 53%. And then hopefully within the next 3 months, make 100% because we are, continuing to do RSI trainings on an ongoing basis.
Okay, thank you. I just like to see a bit more when we're a year into a contract, that's all. Thank you.
Adam, you might have some more?
I don't know, I try. I can manage that side of it. It's okay. It's just looking at those percentages, that's all, at 0% a year in, just makes us a bit nervous. That's all. Any best practices you want to share?
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to say, generally, we do widespread community outreach to different organizations. We currently do job fairs at any school. We actually have one coming up in November in Marin. We work with the Women in Trades. We work with BACA, which is Bay Area Coordinators Association. We also work with Women in the Trades, Tradeswomen Inc., Helmets to Hard Hats, Rising Sun with Juanita Douglas. Occasionally, she will call us and let us know that she has somebody that we need to look at or bring in for testing, and just any other groups or schools that reach out to us. If our calendar permits, we try to go out to reach them. And overall, currently right now, a breakdown of what we have for veterans between both programs, we have 18, which equates to 4.8%. And for minorities, we have 54.3% in the program. And for women, we have 8.3%. We also have one non-binary and one transgender in the program.
Fantastic. I just have a question back, sorry, to performance. I just looked at something. You have a contract that is expecting to close at 100%, but we have 0 invoices in yet. So that's probably explaining why we're at 0% for the following year. So I'm just going to stress the same. Can we be timely in invoicing?
Absolutely. We'll work on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from the panel? All right.
Motion to approve operating engineers in Northern California surveyors pre-apprenticeship, apprentice, and journeyman affirmative action training fund, ETP funding amount of $499,960.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Next up, panel members, we have the stationary engineers. There's one project under tab 68. The total award for this project is $499,797 to train stationary engineers. And I will open it up for any questions.
I think it's the same. Do we have stationary engineers here?
Oh, could the representative for the stationary engineers please come to the podium?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and panel members. My name is James Anderson. I'm the apprenticeship coordinator for the stationary engineers, Local 39.
So it's the same question I have been asking. We're a year in, we're at 0%. We double checked that yesterday. I think my concern is making sure we're being timely in invoicing, that we've got one closing out. I can't find it in my notes if this one has any invoices, but I am on that hook. I'm on the hook of staff and the others, timely invoicing so that we can ensure that fair distribution of funds as we go forward. When we're right sizing, not right sizing, awarding of funds, it may all become, and I think it goes to committee this, about how do we handle active contracts and percentages complete, etc. But I just want to make sure we call it out because we're at 0%. And is it a flip the switch or is it more complicated than that?
I understand it is more of a flip the switch. We have invoiced for 100% of the previous contract and are waiting for their approval. For our current contract, we're at 50% and we're on track to be in 3 months to be at 100% of that contract.
Okay, I appreciate the timing of invoicing. That's what I'm going to say, that we come to panel and there's invoices in today. So we appreciate that timing, but would it be nice to have been a bit earlier if we're at 100% already. Thank you. That's it. Any further questions or comments from the panel?
Motion to approve the operating engineers in Northern California surveyors pre-apprenticeship apprentice and journeyman affirmative action training fund and ETP funding amount of 490. I did the wrong one. I'm on the wrong one.
We're on the next one.
Oh my gosh.
I know
I'm
it's
so
getting
sorry.
confusing.
We're on stationary. It's
We are on
stationary.
tab 68.
Motion
yeah.
to approve the stationary engineers of Northern California and Northern Nevada Apprenticeship and Training Trust Fund in an ETP funding amount of $499,797. I haven't eaten today.
Second. Ditto.
Here a second. Any comment from the public? And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
We're almost there, panel members. Hang in with me. Next, we have elevator constructors industry with 2 projects on tab 69 and 70 for approximately $995,445 in funding to train, surprise, surprise, elevator constructors. Do panel members have any questions?
I don't have any questions. Anyone else?
Super awesome. Motion to approve the tab 69 and 70 for the elevator constructors industry.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
The next industry that we have is the carpenters with 1 project on tab 71 for the Carpenters Training Trust Fund for Northern California for $499,892 in funding to train carpenters, and I'll open it up for any questions.
Anyone have any questions on that one? They're at 100%. They're doing fantastic.
I love that. Motion to approve Carpenters Training Trust Fund for Northern California and an ETP funding amount of $499,892.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on the proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
All right, next we have the fire sprinkler fitter industry 1 project under tab 73 for sprinkler fitters local 483 journeyman and apprenticeship training fund for $393,188 in funding, and I will open it for questions.
Any questions?
So close to 100.
I know.
I love
that.
that.
Tracking okay for this current.
Okay. Motion to approve sprinkler fitters local 483 journeyman and apprenticeship training trust or training fund in an ETP funding amount of $393,188.
Second.
Thank you. Any comment from the public on this proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
Next, we have the Trade Show and Sign Crafts for tab 74, California Trade Show and Sign Crafts Joint Apprenticeship Training Trust Fund of Painters and Allied Trades District Council 36. They're requesting $276,812 in funding.
Any questions from the panel on this one?
I can see on past performance what happened with the low amount that was earned because of COVID and all the shutdown of the trade shows. I get it. Trade shows are back.
Yep, I got a meeting. Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the California Trade Show and Sign Crafts Joint Apprenticeship Training Trust Fund of Painters and Allied Trades District Council 36 and an ETP funding amount of $276,812.
Second.
Any comment from the public on the proposal? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted.
And with that, we have our final project you will find on tab 75 for the Valley Roofers Joint Apprenticeship Training Trust Fund. They are requesting $142,449 in funding to train roofers and waterproofers. And I will open it up to you all for any questions.
Any questions from the panel? No?
Motion to approve the Valley Roofers Joint Apprenticeship Training Trust Fund and ETP funding amount of $142,449.
Second.
Thank you. Any public comments? So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who oppose say nay. Any abstentions? The motion is adopted. Alrighty, that was some work and a lot of money handed out. So before we go any further, I've got a couple of last bits. Housekeeping now is our opportunity for any panel members to request any additional agenda items for future panel meetings. Does any panel member wish to request any future agenda items? Or I'm going to say add anything to policy, because I think I heard some things today around policy.
Yes, what we discussed earlier, I'd like to add to the policy committee at a future meeting.
Let's just clarify what we discussed for the record, because
do you want to go ahead?
Around performance of active contracts as we go forward of where should performance be on tracking on an active contract if you're coming back for an additional contract.
Yes, and strategizing best practices for how to get that uploaded and accounted for.
Is that clear for the record? Just making sure clear.
That's clear enough. Thank you.
Fantastic. I'm sure we'll make more of that when we get to policy. So I'm hearing no more panel requests for agenda items?
I actually have a question. So I think what you just said was something about, in my words, examining the flip the switch policy or process and related policies. That's what I recommend for the policy. Take a look at the holistic process and picture, because this is very confusing.
So we're looking, so I think to clarify, Mike, we are looking at all proposals, whether it's apprenticeship or whether it's a single employer, a multiple employer. If they're coming to panel with an active contract, where we expect them to be at performance and strategize around that of where as ETP legislation regulations panel, we feel comfortable to approve the future ones. So where we've had some flip the switch, whether it's flip the switch, whether it's whatever, I think there's some work that will be done in the apprenticeship committee looking at how apprenticeship funds specifically are. But really, this is the stem of all programs of contracts. So yeah, flip the switch is one big one. But there's also, if I'm a community college and I'm coming for more or multiple employer, just looking at that whole holistic. And it may be we have different buckets, but we'll get to that when we get to policy. I was going to say committee there, so policy committee.
And I was hearing the same thing too, not only just the practices for data entry, which is that flip the switch, but also the metrics and what we're determining for performance and what should be sufficient performance on active contracts when they come in at a proposal. So we're hearing quite a few.
I also heard, and it may be policy, it may be going back to what's in the regs, about accuracy of data being entered and when we're reimbursing on P1, P2s, finals, everything of if we're chasing, not chasing the accuracy of data. So I was hearing back and forth, but I think it comes to policy, unless it's in regs, about how that works as well. Yeah. So it's the whole thing about performance. We got it. We'll add that to the long agenda that we have for those. We've got lots of things to work on that, Gretchen.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do want to give our policy director some time to understand this issue,
Absolutely,
working
yeah.
with the rest of the staff. So I don't anticipate this coming before us at policy committee immediately at October, like maybe the meeting after that.
Yeah, because we've got
So
some
we
things
can
to
have a
talk
robust
about.
discussion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not October.
No, October, we've already got a load of work to do, I think. If I remember correctly, we've got some other bits to do.
But our policy manager is within the legal unit, and I'm hearing this, and I'll be sure to take that back to my group.
Fantastic. Thanks, mate. Okay, so now we're going to hand it over to the public. This is an opportunity. It's a very thin public. In fact, it nearly feels like nearly all staff left to address the panel on any issues not scheduled on today's agenda. We obviously can't act, but we will listen and refer matters to staff for review and possible further action. Any members of the public? I think we're aligned.
Nothing
Okay. Oh, anything online?
Nothing online.
Well done if you've stayed online this long. That's a long time. I think I forgot we had online. Okay, so we're getting to that time of day. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those who oppose say nay. Abstentions. Motion adopted. Thank you, guys.